Good morning and Happy New Year. I now call the January 4th, 2024 Administrative Briefing and Work Session of the Marion County School Board to order at 9 a.m. Please silence your electronic devices to avoid disturbing others. We are the Marion County School District Leadership Team. When we come together to work, we are efficient, effective, and productive. Our three most important characteristics are dedicated, transparent, and individually responsible. To work well together, we must demonstrate respect, confront reality, and be accountable. We will always put students first, and we will leave a legacy of success. Mirroring and modeling how our students begin each day, I ask that you please pause with us for a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you. I now ask the school board attorney to explain the rules for this public work session. Happy New Year, Attorney Powers.
Happy New Year, and thank you, Madam Chair. This work session is a public meeting as defined in Florida's Sunshine Law. The board is dedicated to full transparency in its meetings and its work. In compliance with the Sunshine Law, the board has adopted uniform meeting procedures, including the right for citizens to participate. The board will allow public comment regarding any work session item listed on today's agenda at the appropriate time. Speakers must fill out a request form located in the lobby and hand it to the clerk. After the board and superintendent have completed their discussion on a particular agenda item, the board clerk will call each speaker's name in the order received. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. As required by the Sunshine Law, the board must maintain orderly conduct and proper decorum throughout this meeting. Speakers may criticize subject matter and decisions in a respectful manner, but not people. Finally, speakers must be very careful not to violate the privacy rights of others, especially students and their family members, by mentioning their names or other identifying information. Thank you for your attention to these important rules.
Thank you, Attorney Powers. Good morning, Ms. Martinez. Happy New Year to you. Would you please provide the proof of publication for today's meeting?
The notice for the January 4th, 2024 work session was published in the Ocala Gazette on December 22nd, 2023. Proof of publication has been attached to board docs under proof of publication.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez, and good morning, Dr. Gullett. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Thank
Good
you.
morning.
We will now begin the work session with your briefing.
Thank you. Good morning again, members of the board and chair. Thank you so much, and Happy New Year to everyone in the audience as well. Want to ask Ms. Lauren Debick to come forward, and as a recap, we've been providing an update every work session on impact fees, where we are, and the updates from Benish, who conducted our long-range study to see where we are, and we have some next steps coming up. So thank you. Ms. Debick.
Good morning, Ms. Debick.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, board members, and Dr. Gullett. Following the board's conversation at this special school board meeting on November 27th, Benish is moving forward with the analysis that includes tiers based on square footage for the multifamily apartment category. We did confirm with them yesterday that they will have draft results completed by mid-January, and the next step will be to set up a call with MCPS staff to discuss the final tiers. After we have that call with Benish, we would like to connect with the city and county to make sure they're comfortable with those tiers. And then Benish said that they do anticipate an updated final report can be delivered by the end of February, as long as all parties are in agreement with the tier designations. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from the board?
The only question I have, Chair, is if we need to go ahead and schedule a time in a work session, if we need to discuss those results ahead of the final report or after the final report, and that's the question that I would have.
See Dr. Gullett.
Yes, and smiling and nodding. Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Board Member Campbell. Absolutely. And my intention at this point is to put on an agenda item for the 25th of January, our next work session. So we will have whatever we have there and do a recap of how we're funding our capital needs. So, and any information we have at that time and recommendations to the board.
Thank you.
Can the city and the county be participants in the phone call that you're going to have with Benish to circumvent the need for an additional meeting? I feel like the end of February is absolutely insane. I mean, that would be 3 months to get this taken care of. So If we can minimize timelines, I mean, why do we need to get the information directly from Banesh and then have a phone call with Banesh, and then we go meet with the city and county? I mean, if we're going to have this meeting scheduled with Banesh, can we not just invite the city and county administrators to join us in that meeting so we can all come to agreement in the meeting and move forward?
I absolutely think that they can be on the call. In fact, I would encourage it. I was just getting an update before our meeting started, and I think the more we can come to a conclusion with this, because it really is going to rely on their approval from their perspective of the needs. So absolutely.
And just to be clear, the expectation is that joint call would occur before the 25th work session?
They're supposed to talk to them on the 18th, is what I was told today,
Yes.
of this month, of January.
Okay, so presumably on the 25th, well, on the 18th, we're going to need to have something to Ms. Martinez so that she can upload it for an agenda item?
We'll post whatever we have, and even if they cannot participate, we will provide verbally and any addendums needed for that meeting. There's no reason to delay that meeting and that agenda item.
Okay, and then on the 25th, I guess my question is, what's going to change from what Banesh is giving us on your call on the 18th to the end of February? What's changing?
From what they said, they just want to make sure that city and county are on board with whatever the tier designations are, so what that time frame would look like. If we do include the city and the county on a call mid-January and everyone's in agreement, then that timeline would move up significantly.
I love that.
So then if we're going to have a work session to discuss this as an item on the 25th, like Dr. Campbell had suggested, then our next available board meeting is not until the 13th of February. So my ask would be that there's an agenda item on the 13th of February's board meeting for the,
Ballot language.
thank you, why am I?
The ordinance.
The ordinance, thank you, I was blanking. For the ordinance on the 13th. And then my request would be that we request the county commission hold a spot on their 20th agenda, because they would have a meeting on the 20th of February for them to then vote on our ordinance. That would be my request.
I think that makes great sense, and, we've been working on this for a long time and compressing as much as we can while still, I think it's always better for the involved parties to hear the same information at the same time whenever we can. There's also a lot more to the whole capital funding piece, so I think that we really want to maintain it as a work session item, because it's not just impact fees that we need to continue discussing.
Chair, I completely agree with that timeline. My only question is, just knowing the way the county asked us to send them information previously, they asked for a 10-day window after we had approved it. So that's the only holdup potentially to that timeline, that they may not want to have it on their agenda until March 5th. But I am completely comfortable with the timeline, other than if the county disagrees with voting on it a week after and not having a full 10 days to post.
Go ahead.
To that point, I'm also comfortable with scheduling a special board meeting for this singular item. If we're having a work session on the 25th and come to consensus, I would be okay ahead of our Tallahassee trip because we're going to Tallahassee on the 7th. Well, but I'm in February. So ahead of our February 13th board meeting, to Dr. Campbell's point, to give them the 10 days, we would need to have a meeting shortly thereafter. So if we could discuss at some point a special board meeting just for this singular item to meet that 10-day, if we can confirm they would want the 10 days, that would be great. Because then I'm on board with scheduling a special board meeting to ensure that we're meeting the February 20th date for the county commission meeting.
Plus, if there's any construction updates, we've been having special meetings to address those and adding things in as we need to. I believe that this board is committed to doing whatever it takes to make sure that the timeline keeps moving and take away any barriers to that. So are we good?
Yeah, I just have one other question.
Sure.
On the 25th work session, when we're going to talk about capital needs, is there an expectation that we're going to also discuss sales tax as another funding source during that work session?
Anything that we need to fund our capital needs will be provided. And I'll be making recommendations to the board on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else from the board?
Thank you.
Dr. Gullett?
That concludes the briefing. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, well, let's move on then to resiliency, education, and support.
Thank you. So I'd like to ask Ms. Talbot Irving and the team to come forward. And so board, as a follow-up to conversation we had before the end of the 2023 year, we talked about resiliency education and the programs and support structures in place to support our students so they could be successful academically. So team has put together a presentation and look forward to conversation on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gullett. Good morning, Ms. Talbot Irving.
Good morning, Chair Thrower, Vice Chair Conrad, board members, and Superintendent Gullett. Today, our team will define and share the work in motion to address the Resiliency Initiative in Marion County Public Schools. At this time, I will turn it over to Ms. Yvette Del Nodal, Director of Mental Health and Wellness, to begin us.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Del Nodal. Happy New Year.
Good morning. Good morning, Superintendent Dr. Gullett, Board Chair Thrower, board members, and Happy New Year to all. I'm excited to come before you this morning to talk about Marion County's commitment to promote resiliency in our students. It's important to begin with a clear understanding or definition of resiliency and the commitment of the Florida Department of Education and Marion County Schools to ensure we support building the resiliency of our students to prepare them for success in school and in the future. The ability to withstand adversity or be resilient in the face of challenges requires learning key skills and strategies and developing positive habits. Resiliency education efforts focus on teaching the skills, how to apply the skills and strategies, and reinforcing the benefits of establishing these habits to increase students' opportunities for success. Let us first review how the Resiliency Initiative has evolved. This slide highlights a couple of important dates and decision points regarding resiliency education. On October 20th, 2022, the state board rule regarding mental health education was amended to shift the focus to resiliency. The shift in focus emphasizes the importance of teaching and reinforcing skill building and application with a positive approach to overcoming adversity. This is in line with our department philosophy, which is fostering mental, physical, and overall wellness. On November 22nd, 2022, the State Board of Education adopted a rule requiring annual certification of at least 80% of school personnel that they have completed the approved mental health awareness training. We strive to provide course offerings for all staff in a variety of modalities and schedules, and share updates on our progress. On December 20th, our youth mental health first aid trainers provided the training for approximately 250 participants, including many of our transportation and food service staff. This was a massive effort and accomplishment for this team. Feedback indicated that staff was engaged and interested in learning about tools and strategies that they can use to support students within their roles and interactions. In March 2023, the State Board of Education adopted revised standards aligned to the resiliency framework that included the benchmarks reflected here: character, personal responsibility, mentorship and citizenship, and critical thinking and problem solving. On October 20th, 2022, First Lady DeSantis announced the Resiliency Initiative to include more than $21 million in funding, along with curriculum, as well as teacher and parent toolkits. This visual provides a quick snapshot of the components and how they fit together to create the resiliency framework. The factors of the overall initiative or framework include required instruction, revised resiliency standards, resiliency resources and outreach, training and student support pathways, and the Florida-specific youth survey. Many of the specific components displayed here were previously in place, such as the mental health assistance allocation, youth mental health first aid training, and the Florida Youth Survey. What was new to Florida and Marion County Public Schools was the character education piece and the toolkit. The Resiliency Initiative provided an overall framework to connect each of these components and emphasize how, if implemented together, they would help build resilient students. These are the 10 resiliency skills taught and reinforced via resiliency education efforts throughout the year. Each month, we provide information, reminders, and encourage schools to use strategies and engage in activities to reinforce resiliency skills in a variety of ways, to include learning line memos, the Shine newsletter, school counselor meetings, and through individual coaching and support of school teams. Schools will often incorporate the skill into their school-wide expectations and reinforcement. They will use visuals to emphasize the skill and/or engage in other school-wide activities. Teachers have the opportunity to use resources from the Florida Department of Education or the MTSS Tier 1 Resource Guide as well. Here we have the MTSS Tier 1 Resource Guide. The goal of the guide is to establish and encourage consistent language and an emphasis on the MTSS framework, embedding language and skills across Tier 1 and making clear connections across available resources. The guide is available on the portal and includes hyperlinks to each of the resources. As a department, our goal for supporting resiliency education and initiatives was to ensure we maximized efforts and opportunities to provide information and updates about resiliency requirements and our implementation plan as a district. In order to ensure fidelity of implementation across the district, the Mental Health and Wellness Department, with support and in collaboration with other departments, such as Curriculum and Instruction and Professional Leadership and Learning, continuously provide support to schools. Administration and school teams are provided information about the resiliency standards, state requirements, and the resiliency toolkit. This information has been shared in various ways to include informational presentations and professional learning opportunities, such as the Leadership Summit and the Summer Multidisciplinary Team Training conducted for school teams in July of 2023. Andrew McPeak, VP of Content for Growing Leaders, the developers of Habitudes curriculum, served as our keynote speaker at the summer training. He conveyed the importance of making connections in a way that is impactful for today's youth and explained how the key components of programs, such as Habitudes, can be a useful tool to teach necessary skills and foster healthy habits for success as a student. To help continue to develop instruction and support fidelity, multiple professional learning opportunities were offered for teachers and support staff specific to Caring School Community and Habitudes. The Mental Health and Wellness Department has also continued the commitment to provide youth mental health first aid training for all MCPS staff. This training provides a foundation for resiliency efforts and the mental health plan services and supports. Those trained acquire the knowledge and skills to support us in our efforts to identify youth in need and to quickly connect them to resources. Efforts were also made to ensure we supported staff with additional professional learning opportunities. These efforts included workshops during pre-planning week, participating in Great Beginnings to support our new teachers, and providing information and support via monthly school counselor meetings. Additional activities included engaging with parents and community stakeholders during family focus events and providing on-site school-based team support as needed. Our team performs on-site support during the initial implementation and continues to solicit feedback from administrators and schools to identify barriers and any resource needs. As such, we have worked with vendors to ensure additional on-site and virtual supports were available. Administrators verify implementation on a monthly basis as required for state reporting of the resiliency education requirement. Caring School Community was selected with community input as the curriculum used to support resiliency education at the elementary school level. Here we have an overview of the components included in the Caring School Community curriculum. MCPS has used this curriculum since 2021. The lessons are aligned to support the monthly resiliency skills as previously shown on the Tier 1 resource guide. Teachers use daily morning meetups and closing circles to introduce and reinforce skills, along with lessons that can be delivered daily for our younger learners in kindergarten and first grade, and weekly for students in grades 2 through 5. Additional resources include weekly overviews, parent connect letters, and spotlight student interviews. The first 2 weeks of the program emphasize classroom management, procedures, and routines, which are essential to establishing a productive and organized environment conducive to learning. Caring school discipline is another optional component that can be used as a resource to facilitate addressing behaviors within the classroom. Curriculum kits were provided to all elementary campuses. Each year, we assess district needs to purchase additional kits needed to replace or replenish supplies. Additional training and support is also made available to schools and teachers as needed. These images were shared by school counselors. The students are seen engaging in a morning circle activity. Ms. Renee Johnson, principal at Spar Elementary, has also ensured students have a visual reminder on campus emphasizing the importance of building resiliency and positive character traits. Habitudes is a curriculum implemented at the secondary level to support resiliency education. The Habitudes curriculum uses memorable imagery, real-life stories, and practical experiences to teach timeless skills in a way that is relevant to students today. The goal of the program is to help students develop habits of self-discipline and initiative, successfully implement time management skills to be productive and effective, develop plans for personal growth beyond the classroom and their school career, and to help them identify their unique strengths and passions to maintain a healthy self-image. Students learn necessary skills to successfully work with others, which translate into attitudes and habits that will help them work collaboratively with others in the workforce. These habits and attitudes will foster the resiliency needed to be effective and efficient in all aspects of life. We are in the 5th year of implementation with Habitudes. The program is designed to meet the needs of students in grades 6 through 12, using different topics and materials to teach and reinforce concepts and skills. The program is also designed to help establish and develop a positive climate in classrooms and schools. This is an example of some of the components of a Habitudes lesson. A key piece is the use of video clips and imagery to help students understand and make connections when a concept is introduced. The visuals are also crucial when reinforcing the concept or skill. Another fundamental component of the program is opportunities for discussion. The discussion questions are designed to engage students in meaningful conversations so they may associate the concept to their own lives, helping reinforce and personalize the content. Student-led discussions also help us build an understanding of how the students at different stages of development and with varying experiences interpret and conceptualize these topics. The key to the program's value lies in the ability to engage students with the material. Support is available to teachers and staff to help use strategies that increase participation and foster robust, interactive conversations. Counselors receive information and updates each year to help support the implementation on campus.
Nodell?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much for this beginning, and I just wanted to give the board an opportunity to share any questions or comments. You did a great job separating it from, some funding things, and then also elementary and secondary, elementary with caring school community, and secondary with Habitudes. So I just wanted to give the board an opportunity to ask any questions at this point or share any comments that they may want to. All good so far? All good so far?
Yeah, my only comment is it does appear that the training is getting better on the instructor side. I know that we've had conversation before in this very room about it being not as beneficial for the secondary, especially for secondary boys, as I think it is for girls who might be more willing to speak on these kinds of issues. And I believe some of that is facilitator experience and availability for them with the information to be able to garner more interaction. And I do believe that has increased this year. So thank you for all the work that's been done on that.
That's great to hear.
Madam Chair,
Member Cable, go ahead.
I do have a question. I saw the curriculum for K through 5 and the Habitudes for 6 through 12. Is there anything out there for those pre-K, those kids that because we have them in our schools now?
So the caring school community, I know they can still use some of those components for the younger children as well.
Yeah, I think we need as early as possible to introduce some of these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Campbell. I have just a couple questions about funding, and you can get this to us later. I'm just wondering what our current mental health allocation is.
The one thing I don't have written down. Ms. Steckman, you can get that?
And if it's coming later in the presentation, more information about funding?
It's coming
wait.
later from the audience.
Okay. All right, great.
That information as we speak.
Yes, because these programs are fantastic. They're also expensive,
Yeah.
and that leads me to my, yes?
No, I agree. Yeah.
Okay, and that leads me to my second question regarding fidelity of implementation. There was a statement about ongoing monthly documentation, and I remember a couple of years ago that the fidelity was sadly, quite low, and there was a lot of reasons attached to that. So that would be something else that I would be very interested in getting an update on, because this is foundational stuff we're using to support parents and to support kids, and by extension, the whole community.
And that information comes to our school counseling division. So every month from our elementary schools as well as our secondary schools, we have the principals that provide us documentation that they have implemented the resiliency skills and they're implementing the programs on their campuses. That on-site training also helps as well. So we get feedback from administrators, we get feedback from school counselors, and if it feels like there's some support that's needed for the implementation, whether that be training, whether that be us coming on site and talking to teams, whether that be supporting those school teams, then we work through that as well.
Great, and that really ties in with your comment, Board Member Campbell, that it is all about, bringing it together at the school level and making sure that the staff that's delivering, these lessons and so on and organizing it all feel really comfortable and are the leaders on their campuses on this. So it looks great in a box, but it's the...
Nothing stays shrink wrapped.
Right. Thank you.
I just have one question.
Go ahead.
Get that later.
Yep, we have one more.
One more question,
Yeah, go
yes. Just because it's been a big push, and it is a big need in our schools, but do we have any data to back up that this is improving the behavior and the decision-making that's happening in classrooms? Because I'm just going to talk as a classroom teacher. The hardest part about this is finding the time to do it. Every year, the state gives educators more and more to do, and nothing is ever taken away. And so, again, it looks great in a box. The discussion questions are great, but are they getting it done with fidelity? And I know that challenge personally. And if it is being done with fidelity, are we getting a good return on our money?
So I would say in looking at district-wide, when we're looking at the way the district is moving, and I'm going to get into this a little bit later when we're talking about the mentoring programs, some of the key factors we're looking at are academics, we look at behavior, and we look at attendance, right? And so if we look at our district, we improved a grade letter. We see several schools that have improved some grade letters. We have attendance is better. I have the percentage here. I think we're at 25. I don't want to misquote it, but I think we're at 25, somewhere around there for chronic absenteeism. So that is lower than where we were. So we do see that getting a little bit better. And behavior-wise, I did some analysis of referral, just plain old referral numbers, comparing them to the last 2 years. And in the 20 weeks of school that we have had, 16 out of those 20 weeks, we were below the same number of referrals that we had from last year. So that's looking at large impact across the district. Most of the time, especially for our department, we look at individual students. We're looking at what are their goals, how are they manifesting some of these issues that they have. So is it attendance? Is it with their academics? Is it with just behavior? Is it just them being able to make relationships and maintain those relationships? So we look at those individual factors for those students as well. And mental health is always that gray area. So you can have a couple good weeks and then we have a couple setbacks, but the fact that they're resilient, so they bounce back and we see some of that progress again, is really what we want to zone in on.
I had one other question that kind of goes along with that. Are the high schools doing their lessons on the early release days? Is it planned as part of that, or is it separate? Do you know?
I think the schedules differ from high school to high school, if that's correct.
Different? Okay. My concern would be is there's been quite a bit of discussion of attendance dropping on early release days, and my guess would be those are a lot of the kids that need those lessons or activities. So I just wondered if there was a correlation between, that they get one lesson a month, that 30 or 40 minutes, and are we hitting the kids that need to receive it the most?
And with those school team supports, so those are the questions that we pose to the teams, right? So do you know what does your schedule look like? Do you know if you're implementing them on those early release days, are you missing a lot of kids? Do you need to tweak that schedule? Those are the conversations that we have when we provide support.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And yes, just as we continue our commitment to building this culture of resiliency and high expectations for behavior, it's really great to hear that we are climbing the mountain. Because it continues to distress me, it's necessary when a kid violates the code of student conduct, it is what it is, but we're getting pretty massive numbers at each school board meeting. And I'm not complaining about that, because if a kid is not doing right, then don't be afraid to write the referral is how I look at it. Let's just confront reality here. But on the positive side, which you mentioned at the beginning, it is about building that culture of resiliency. And the more everyone hears it and the more it's embedded at the school levels, it's just going to continue to grow. So it's encouraging.
To answer your earlier question, so it's good to have friends.
It is.
Approximately $3 million is the price that we have. The majority of the budget continues to fund salaries for mental health professionals. We use a lot of the allocation to reduce ratios with our social workers, our psychologists, and our counselors. And our Tier 1 curriculum cannot be funded through the mental health plan. So I was going to mention that as well. So our mental health allocation funds must be allocated for Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports and services.
So, and for the community listening, Tier 1 is what?
What we use for everybody.
Okay.
Correct.
And Tier 2 and Tier 3?
Are some of the programs I'm going to mention in a minute.
Okay, all right. And because again, this all just is, we live it, so we understand it. But it's important for the community to know that, we have high expectations for everybody, but then when kids are struggling, we have increasing levels of support to hopefully help them build the resiliency.
Correct.
Okay.
Toolbox with lots of tools in it.
Great.
Caring School Community and the Habitudes are both Tier 1.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. A strong foundation using evidence-based and data-driven instruction related to resiliency, character development, and mental health is key to helping students succeed in school and beyond the walls of the school classroom and campus. Students acquire and effectively apply the knowledge, attitudes, and skills necessary to understand and manage adversity, set and achieve positive goals, develop empathy for others, and establish and maintain positive relationships. These skills are the cornerstone in fostering responsible decision-making in our students. As a component of the resiliency framework, the mental health plan provides supplemental services and resources that may be needed beyond Tier 1. The mental health plan helps to integrate services and supports across all tiers. A multi-tiered system of supports ensures that the intervention that is implemented is directly matched to the level of need identified. Tier 1 supports are provided to all students to teach and reinforce resiliency skills and how to work collaboratively with peers, as discussed in our previous slides. Tier 2 supports are provided to meet additional identified needs. Examples shown here include implementation of programs that are designed to teach and reinforce social skills and coping skills. Strategies and programs designed to address peer conflict and relational aggression or bullying. And mentoring are also useful tools at the Tier 2 level. For students demonstrating a higher level of need, Tier 3 supports are provided to intensify and individualize interventions. These supports and strategies include, as seen here, behavior intervention plans designed specifically for the student, behavior and safety contracts, counseling as a related service for students receiving exceptional student education services, and referral to the local review team. The local review team is an opportunity to collaborate with local agencies and stakeholders to ensure the student is receiving appropriate wraparound services when the need exceeds that which can be addressed by the school system alone. Specific examples of resources and interventions available for school teams include Stop and Think and Zones of Regulation. Schools and practitioners are provided guidance on selecting appropriate interventions and requirements for effective implementation via the Mental Health and Wellness Portal, where school teams can access guideline sheets, examples, and other resources. Additionally, we endeavor to provide intervention-specific professional learning opportunities throughout the year, both in person and virtually, as well as coaching to support school teams. We strive to continually review our current resources and solicit feedback to ensure we meet changing needs, adding or adjusting our toolbox as necessary. This well-known document provides an overview of the interventions available to school teams as they problem solve how to meet student needs at the Tier 2 level. Typically referred to as the stair step, we have a similar document for academic interventions as well. The document organizes available tools and interventions as they relate to specific areas areas of concern or skills. The document also guides teams through data analysis and provides recommendations for data source criteria that is needed to accurately match the intervention to the student. As previously mentioned, this is a living document that is reviewed and updated as we expand our resources and assess the efficacy of the evidence-based interventions used by identifying and discussing patterns to align resources. The work that is done to support resiliency efforts across the district is also supported by partnerships with community stakeholders. The Florida Department of Education's Resiliency Framework also included funding dedicated for resiliency resources and outreach. The goal of the resiliency resources and outreach effort is to maximize the reach and the impact of resiliency education to include production, promotion, and distribution of resiliency materials in schools, out-of-school time programs and other student-related community organizations, coordination of school and community-based events that emphasize parental involvement with student education with a focus on resiliency and civic and character education, and training based on resiliency education and school counseling standards. The Mental Health and Wellness Department worked collaboratively with the Public Education Foundation of Marion County to apply for the funding established to support resiliency education efforts. This was a competitive grant, and we were fortunate to be selected. In the next few slides, we will review what has already been accomplished as a result of this funding, as well as what is planned for the future. The Public Education Foundation supported school team professional learning, funding our keynote by Andrew McPeak to reintroduce and reinvigorate the Habitudes implementation, which also included providing each participant with Mr. McPeak's most recent book, Ready for Real Life, Unpacking the 5 Essential Skills Great Leaders Instill in Their Students. Additionally, resiliency bracelets and lanyards were distributed to schools for students to demonstrate their school pride and their commitment to building resiliency. Currently, we're carrying out the next phase of the plan, which includes providing mini grants to help schools fund resiliency activities on their campuses. Similar to their Grants for Great Ideas program, the Public Education Foundation will provide funding up to $1,500 to support campus initiatives to build student resiliency. Application for the funds was conducted in a mini grant format with simplified questions and simplified reporting. Principals, assistant principals, school counselors, and other designated team members were eligible to apply. Information was shared via Learning Line as well as during counselor meetings and other communication from the foundation. Funding is expected to be distributed between January and February of 2024 and to be used between January and June of 2024. Funding may be used for family engagement opportunities to promote resiliency characteristics, resiliency branding to make resiliency traits branded and visible on campuses, student mental health initiatives, support for implementation of the Habitudes or Caring School Community curriculum, school-wide activities to include students and staff which support building resiliency and can include SHINE initiatives, resources to enhance Tier 1 services tied to building student resiliency, and activities or materials to promote monthly characteristics of resiliency traits. All schools are eligible to receive the funding, and we're currently working with our area superintendents to ensure all school leaders take advantage of this opportunity. Through grant funds, we are also currently selecting a group of school-based mental health professionals to receive trust-based relational intervention training via the Pearl Project. These individuals will learn the necessary skills and strategies to support school teams and provide needed resources as we work to broaden the impact of trauma-informed care practices across the district. This is the first step in our plan to build capacity within the department and among schools. Additional information will be provided to principals and school leaders to ensure that they're aware of the available resources and how to access these supports. Our school counseling division is working with the foundation to develop resiliency toolkits for counselors. These kits include tools and resources to help with de-escalation and counseling. Additional supports at the community level include collaborating with youth mentoring programs such as the Boys and Girls Club, and engaging in community outreach via newsletter to promote awareness and provide ideas for reinforcing skills outside of school. At the district level, the foundation has helped support Tier 1 resiliency education by providing funding for supplemental resources for caring school community and habitudes implementation. As mentioned, this was a competitive grant for Florida school districts based on proposed plans for supporting the resiliency efforts at the school, community, and district level. The total amount awarded was $296,475. Here are a few examples of resiliency activities in the schools. Students demonstrate their understanding of gratitude, sharing their personal examples of what they're thankful for this year. Here we see how Stanton-Weirsdale celebrates their Student of the Month Breakfast Club members who are selected for demonstrating the resiliency skill of the month. And we have an account from a parent sharing her son's experience at school and his excitement of being able to show his commitment for resiliency, even snatching her bracelet so that he could wear it to school. Mentoring is a valuable tool to support students and meet specific needs, but it also provides students with an avenue to see and apply the skills that they have learned, such as maintaining relationships, responsibility, and commitment. In the next portion of the presentation, we will highlight the mentoring opportunities available to Marion County students. The SKIP program is available through a partnership between Marion County Children's Alliance and the Department of Juvenile Justice.
Ms. Del Nodal?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. And before we get into SKIP and all the mentoring programs, again, I'm just trying to chunk this a little bit.
Sure.
And give the board an opportunity to ask any questions or make any comments on what we've just heard, which is just a wealth of information.
Okay, I'll go.
Chair
I
Conrad.
just have a clarifying question. Looking back to slide 14, 15, at the MTSS intervention chart and the tier chart, what does that timeline look like? And I'm only asking because as a teacher, attendance was a huge struggle. The kids that I needed to get data on were consistently absent. And so have we made any strides in that area? And what does that timeline look like now for our kids that we're trying to move from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3 so they can get the support they need, but we have to collect the data to provide that support. So what does it look like?
So with these programs, it really just depends on the actual program. Most of them do have, if it's a 6-week program, an 8-week program, so they're giving you some expectations of when you should see some changes. We also try to support the school teams in having them look through the information that they have and really make some database decisions. So if you see issues that are escalating, well, we're going to want to make some immediate changes, right? If we see that the student is progressing, well, we have a conversation about this seems to be working, let's give them more time. Or we say this seems to be working, but is there something that we can add to kind of make this work a little bit faster or have the progress be escalated a little bit. So those usually really just depend on how the student is responding to the specific interventions, as well as what the recommendations are for those interventions that tell us how much time we really should be waiting to see what kind of response we have from the students.
Okay, is there a specific, like, percentage that they have to increase in a certain amount of time, or how is that measured?
No, it usually just depends on the goal. It's a little bit more difficult when we're talking about mental health, simply because what is that goal? So what are we looking at? How is it impacting the student's performance? So if we're looking at, to give a specific example, if we're working with a student on time management or some of those skills because we want them to start increasing their production, so work completed, that's a little bit easier. So we can say, okay, how much work are they completing now? What's the goal that we're expecting? How quickly are they moving to that goal? Does this seem to be working? Is this supporting the student in that? When we're talking about some kind of different behaviors, then that would depend. Do we want to decrease the intensity of the behavior, the frequency of the behavior? We have to have lots of those conversations to really pinpoint what are we trying to change with the intervention that we're providing.
Okay, and who all is on the team? We used to call it child study team, I'm not sure what.
The problem solving.
I'm showing my age, but who all participates and makes these decisions?
So with those problem solving teams, it also depends on the level. So when you're talking about tier 2, usually you have your, the teacher is involved, obviously, because they're the ones that have the wealth of information. You have your school counselors involved, you have your administrators involved. If there's a student manager, because there's a behavior issue, you have them involved. For academic, you might have some of the academic coaches involved. So it just depends. It's more of a school-based team. Okay. As we move on to like tier 3 and it's a little bit more individualized, you start including your school psychologist, your school social worker, some of those other individuals that also have an impact with the student.
Okay, as I'm looking at this chart, and it's got district-supported interventions, does that mean it's a specific district program, or does that mean we've got a team from the district that's going in to provide support to our level 2 and 3?
That means we can support that program. So we have the materials, we have the information, we can provide support and training, we can provide any resources you need for you to be able to implement that program with fidelity.
Okay, do we have a school psychologist for each school, or are they shared?
I wish. So no, most of them have several schools, so they can have up to 2, 3, some will have 4 schools. It depends on the sizes of the school, it depends on the needs of the school. We typically try to balance what we call caseloads, or the schools assigned to you, based off of those numbers. How many students, what kinds of needs are there, how often you would need to go, what kinds of the needs are. Is there a lot of testing, is there a lot of meetings, is there a lot of counseling? So we try to make them as equitable as possible.
Thank you.
To piggyback on Vice Chair Conrad's question about, we wish we had a school psychologist in every school and social worker as well, what is the reason why we don't have that? Is it funding related or availability related? Are people getting into this field at rates that we can still hire them if they were available?
So I can tell you it's a national critical shortage area, but some of the efforts that we in our district have to help recruit is we have great partnerships with our local universities to have students do their practicum experiences here, to have them do their internships here, and that's how we get them to see what a wonderful place this is, and hopefully they stay and apply once they're done with their schooling. We also really partner with those universities to participate in some of their student interviews when we have students that come and are asking for information on these programs. Some of the things that I've seen in the past is when you're speaking to those students, most of the time they're like, I didn't even know this field existed until somebody told me, or until I started to research. And so we have a lot of efforts now where we're trying to have people understand who we are, what we do, the difference between what a school social worker does, what a school psychologist does, and what kind of people have the ideas of what they would be doing or what that job entails.
Thank you. That is so true, because we're so focused on getting students out, graduated, that should be more of a circle, and we've been talking about that at our conferences. How do we help students understand how many opportunities there are? Once you're out, consider coming back in, which can seem counterintuitive, but it's so true. There's just incredible opportunity within our district, and I know that's part of our Grow Your Own initiatives and pathways that we've been talking about, and that's really great. Anything else from the board?
I just have one comment. I just wanted to say thank you. You mentioned on slide 17, the Pearl Project, trust-based relationships and intervention. Shortly after I was elected, I just had the opportunity to partner with them on some training. And just coming out of the classroom, there were some things that I learned. I thought, wow, I wish I had had several difficult, challenging students. And there were strategies that they shared that I thought were so beneficial just in the day-to-day decision-making in the classroom. And so we had several conversations about that, and I just want to say thank you, because as a teacher, I think that's invaluable. And being in this district a long time, at least I personally had not had the opportunity to have a training like that that provides other opportunities of helping children make better decisions for themselves by giving them options. So I just want to thank you for your work in that area, and all the opportunities, really, just like Chair Thrower said, all the opportunities that we're able to provide for our students. So thank you.
Thank you.
What a great segue. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to, first of all, say, also, I noticed the relationship with Pearl Project, and they're just an exemplary organization in the things that they're doing and the services they provide. So I'm grateful that in partnership with the Public Education Foundation, we're able to utilize some of their services. You somewhat answered the question a bit, but I clicked on a question quickly about how many schools had actually applied for these resiliency mini grants. I know you said through the area superintendents were working to ensure that every school applies. Is the expectation that every school that applies will actually receive one? Or, and if they haven't yet applied, what are those barriers that are keeping them from doing that? And is some of it program related or some of it time related? Like, I'm not sure, because initially the comment was made about that schools are expected to apply for this, but then how is that actually occurring? And then the timeline, if we're wanting to give them out this month, then, how are we ensuring that occurs?
So it's budgeted for every school to receive it, because we wanted to make sure everybody had that opportunity. I would assume that some of the challenges have just been time, just getting the opportunity to do it, and we were close to break. So that's why we're working with them now to make sure if you hadn't received the information yet, or if you hadn't had time to complete that, let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation about what you're currently doing that we can help supplement, or come up with some ideas of something that you would do and wouldn't have normally thought you could do it because you didn't have the funding. So we're working with that now just to make sure everybody is able to get their, piece of what we've allocated for it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, because I'm also wondering, when I hear mini grants, it makes me think of grants for great ideas, and that comes through individual teachers. And so having a streamlined process is so important, because as Vice Chair Conrad said, that's always the teacher's challenge, is just finding the time even to apply for these great things. So the resiliency mini grants are different from the grants for great ideas. Okay. All right, just wanted to clarify that. And then also, again, on the funding side, it sounds like we're up to $3,296,475 so far. And I think that's important to convey, because it is a huge financial commitment from the state and from the district, and there's lots of different funding sources that these programs can be funded by, while at the same time, from what I just heard, we are facing an ongoing shortage and critical need for school psychologists, for social workers. I think a few years ago we removed a barrier so that when one of them, I can't remember which job title it was doing their internship, that used to be unpaid. So it made it very difficult, but we're paying that now, right?
Correct. For school psychologists, they have a paid internship.
Which is awesome. So anything that, from my perspective and seat, that we can do to continue to help remove those barriers, that ends up being a cost savings over time. Okay. And thank you so much. And we're asking a lot of questions because we really care. and this is so important.
Absolutely.
Anything else from the board? Okay. Moving right along, sort of.
I'm going to start from the beginning, if that's okay, for this slide. Just so I don't jump
I
in the
saw
middle of
Skip
it.
and I was like, okay, we're going to continue to dive right in here, so.
That's okay. Mentoring is a valuable tool to students to meet specific needs, but it also provides students with an avenue to see and apply the skills that they have learned, such as maintaining relationships, responsibility, and commitment. In the next portion of the presentation, we will highlight the mentoring opportunities available to Marion County students. The SKIP program is available through a partnership between the Marion County Children's Alliance and the Department of Juvenile Justice. The program supports youth and families, offering tutoring and mentoring for youth. The services provided by the SKIP program are free of charge to students. The Department of Juvenile Justice allocates grant funding to the Marion County Children's Alliance to support the program. Mentoring is provided on school campuses by SKIP program mentors. Prior to initiating supports, students are administered the Prevention Assessment Tool during intake, and that's from the Department of Juvenile Justice. The tool assesses risk factors in 12 domains and is used at the end of the program to assess the efficacy of the program. Results are reported to the Department of Juvenile Justice as a requirement for participation in the program. During mentoring, students set 2 individual goals, 1 academic or behavior goal, and 1 student-selected goal. Students are guided toward creating a plan to accomplish their goals and provided with skills and support needed while on their journey. Currently, mentoring services are provided to students ages 5 to 17 years old. A total of 119 students in Marion County receive these services, and mentors meet with the students across 14 different campuses in the district. Mentors contact parents at least once every month, and they are required to complete progress monitoring forms created by the SKIP program for the students that they serve. The progress monitoring form includes a summary of the student's academic or behavioral goal and a plan or steps to reach each goal. The form also includes the data that is reviewed and monitored to include factors relevant to the student and their goals, such as grades, attendance, and behavior. Mentors use the form during communication with parents, and they provide the SKIP program project coordinator with a monthly summary of what the student is working on during mentoring. Mentors will collect data from the school point of contact, such as a student services manager, school counselor, or guidance clerk, and they document when monthly parent contact has been made. Students use the progress monitoring sheet to sign in for their mentoring sessions and to review their data, their goals, and their plans. Mentors are required to meet with students for a minimum of 2 hours per month. The frequency and duration of these sessions will differ based off student needs and school schedules. The SKIP program currently has 3 tutors and 7 mentors. So the number of students that are served is dependent on what the staff and capacity of the program can currently support.
Okay, before we move on, because all these programs are.
Pause this time.
Yes, thank you. All these programs are different, so again, I would like to open it up to the board for questions or comments, discussion.
Madam Chair, I do have a question. How do these kids get into this program? Who identifies them and said these are good candidates to go into these programs?
So the schools can identify students. Usually they'll use like their best screener, or they'll use some of the data if it's a student who's been referred to the multidisciplinary team. They've been looking at some of the concerns, either from teachers or from the data that they see. Schools can refer them. Parents can also refer them. So a parent can contact the SKIP program and refer their child as well.
Okay, that was going to be my question, could parents, because if they are seeing some behaviors with these kids, I mean, sometimes we go straight to discipline where we identify certain little traits. Maybe we need to start looking at put them in these programs.
And sometimes it can be from the parent through the school. So if the parent is referring the student to MDT and MDT is then connecting them to SKIP, that happens as well.
Thank you.
Board Member Kimmel.
Sure, thank you. I am really excited about what the SKIP program offers, in part because there are no limitations on the students. So we have elementary and secondary students as well as boys and girls. So the opportunities, while you said that the number served is dependent on the capacity of the program, I'm inquiring if we've ever sought out potentially to say, if we were to be able to provide this, could there be additional staffing brought on board? Or we have the need, and we know the need. And while 119 students are being mentored and 28 are receiving academic tutoring, we know the need is greater. And so is the limitation on increasing this program simply because of capacity that is currently where it stands, or because we haven't sought out additional supports for that capacity to be increased?
So from the conversations that I've had with their project coordinator, the capacity right now is just the number of people that they have to serve the number of students that have been referred. But other conversations have not happened yet.
Okay, so the 7 mentors that they have in the SKIP program are mentoring 119 students. And then the 3 tutors are tutoring 28 students. Okay, so those ratios, obviously, we can do the math on. Okay, that helps me. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I just have a couple of quick questions. Again, I'm hearing that it's a shortage of available folks that will commit to this work. The need is there, and the need is great. So that's just another opportunity for the community to know that there is an opportunity to partner, with us to support these kids. It's so greatly needed. I also want to just circle back quickly to Vice Chair Conrad's comment about attendance. If the kids are not in school to receive support and interventions, that's a problem. So the foundation really is getting our kids in school, and so that we can provide all of this great intervention and support that we can. Is SKIP an after-school program?
They do it on campus during the school day.
Do it on campus?
I believe the tutoring happens after school.
I'm sorry?
I believe the tutoring happens after school.
Okay, so the mentoring occurs during the school day and
Correct.
the tutoring occurs after school. Okay. And this is funded through the Department of Juvenile Justice?
Yes.
Okay. So, again, it's about the taxpayer, right? There's no free program. The money is coming from somewhere, and that somewhere is us. I would love to know what the amount of the funding availability is as I continue my running calculation.
And I can try to get that information.
Look at her. Thank you.
So from my understanding, and I could be mistaken, I know the grant funding might have several programs attached to it. So I probably will have to contact somebody at DJJ to find out what that amount is, and you want to know the specific amount that's allocated for the SKIP program, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that what is available to Marion County Public Schools, or what can be available, would be helpful.
Madam Chair, just for clarity for that, that funding does go through the Children's Alliance, Marion County Children's Alliance, correct?
Yes, with the partnership with the DJJ. So DJJ provides the funding to Marion County Children's Alliance.
I see Ms. McCall back there. Does she have anything she can add to that?
Absolutely, please, come on down.
Another friend to save the day.
Yes.
Thank you. Beth McCall, Executive Director of the Marion County Children's Alliance. All of the funding that we receive through the SKIP program goes to the SKIP program. And they sent us additional funding for our program that they ask us to run at CERMI. So that's a separate from what we're running through SKIP. But all of the funding, and we receive, over the years, we have received over $700,000. Annually, we're at about $219,000. And the majority of that is for our contracted mentors and tutors.
Okay, so they are paid.
They are paid.
Okay.
And the question becomes, and the coordinator and I had the conversation yesterday, if additional funding from other sources is available, will DJJ let that be a part of the SKIP program? This is a program funded through DJJ, so that is a question that we would have to ask them, that we certainly will. They continue to add money. Ours is a model program. They use our programs, a lot of our forms. They are using, that's because of the staff that we have running it. So they continue to refund, and each year they increase the funding for us. But could another organization join in with us to increase? If we had more funding, we could hire more mentors.
Great, great. So you think the mentors would be available, that we'd be able to, find them,
Well,
hopefully?
yes. We're pretty picky when it comes to who's mentoring our kids.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the reasons it's successful. But we would certainly try to find more mentors.
Yep, great.
Thank you.
Chair. Thank you, Ms. McCall, for that clarification. So just for further understanding, SKIP is a program of DJJ, or SKIP is a program of the Children's Alliance that is funded by DJJ?
SKIP is a program of the Children's Alliance that is funded by DJJ.
Okay.
When we applied for the grant funding, we'd created this program when we applied for the funding.
So
it
because
was a mentoring grant RFP through the DJJ, and this was our program.
Sure, okay, great. So because it's a program of the Children's Alliance that is grant funded, potentially, it could also have additional funding sources, as you noted, that it could have been a part of the Resiliency grant from the Public Ed Foundation, for example.
Possibly.
Potentially, okay. And that was my question, so thank you for that clarity, because, again, to stress my interest and excitement of this program because of the lack of limitations, and the way that we essentially can have every student that is in need, regardless of their sex, regardless of their age, regardless of the school they're in, and they are receiving services. And so if there was alternative funding, whether that be through our mental health allocation, not necessarily because that's funded differently, but I'm just using general terms here, but whether we funded it out of general fund or we had grants funding or other things like that, that we had potential expansion of this program could be available.
Well, this grant, SKIP was created because of the grant. When we wrote the grant, and it wasn't named SKIP at the time, it was a mentoring and tutoring program. And the grant funded the program. But it came through the RFP. It had criteria in order to meet the grant criteria. So,
Thank you.
but we will certainly ask the question. So,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's an amazing partnership with the Marion County Children's Alliance. Okay, anything else? We good? Okay.
I just have one comment. I just want to share. On top of mentoring, paid mentoring that we have in Marion County as part of this program, we also have non-paid mentoring that happens through Take Stock for Children. I do not have a number on how many, but I believe at least 3 board members are able to participate in that this year. And so just for public awareness, we do have services that we provide to students that are not paid. And so I don't have a number on that. I would like to get it. And if anybody knows, do you happen to know?
The number of Take Stock and Children students?
No, like volunteers.
Oh, I don't know if I know that off the top of my head.
I don't either.
It's definitely more than 100 because there are more than 100 students in the program, but
It's one for each, right?
Right. Typically, I think there may be one or 2 mentors that have 2 students, but they are still in need of mentors.
Yes, they are. And
Always.
just that Marion County is committed to meeting the needs of our students, and we do it in many ways. And so I just wanted to share that.
Yes, excellent, thank you. All right,
I was fortunate enough to be a Take Stock mentor for a few years as well, and I know they recruit people from our department as well. It's a great program.
It is good.
thank you.
Okay, moving on. Cut Different. The Cut Different mentoring program is a contracted service provided to students in elementary and middle school. The program aims to encourage young male students to develop talents and seize opportunities. The vision of the empowerment program, led by Cut Different, is to help students use their experiences and passions to plan for and take control of their future. The program is designed for youth to engage with positive role models and mentors that help guide them through the process of empowerment. Participating students are referred to the program by school teams based on early warning indicators to include academic, discipline, and attendance data. The students are identified and referred for supports via database decisions, and they participate voluntarily with parent consent. Cut Different currently serves 56 Marion County Public School students at various schools, with the potential of adding 30 more students. Pending board approval, Lakeware Middle School is currently reviewing data to identify 30 students to be referred for services at that site. Impact of the afforded services is evaluated based on the same data used for referral to include academic, behavioral, and attendance data. At this time, all costs incurred are fully paid for by grant funding. Ms. Kynard.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Kiner.
Good morning. The Cut Different services are funded by federal grants at the 5 schools. One school is currently using Title I funds, which are federal dollars that are allocated to each Title I school. Each principal works with their school stakeholders to analyze their academic, attendance, and behavior data to develop and implement a school improvement plan. The principal has the autonomy to use the Title I allocation to ensure they are reaching their school focus areas in their school improvement plan. There are 3 schools that are using the Cut Different services, and the funding is from the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, which are, again, federal funds that were allocated in 2020. The ESSER funds will be going away in September of 2024. In addition, Lakeware Middle School is requesting to use the Unified School Improvement Grant, UNISIG, which are federal funds awarded to our Comprehensive Support and Improvement Schools, or our CS&I schools, for Cut Different mentoring services. This UNISIG grant is to be used to support our most vulnerable students at our most fragile schools in order to implement sustainable systems. Principals at our Comprehensive Support and Improvement schools analyze their school data and have the autonomy to determine what resources are needed to support their learners.
Thank you, Ms. Kiner.
Students are seen once per week in 30-minute sessions for groups and/or individual students. Cut Different administers student-completed questionnaires to evaluate efficacy as well as student engagement and satisfaction. Schools review student data to evaluate the impact and to determine any need for additional referrals or intervention. Oakcrest Elementary currently has 11 students receiving services in grades 3 through 5, 5 of which have continued services from last year. School data indicated that 91% of these students have earned passing grades for all core subject areas to date. Almost 50% of the students have missed less than 10% of school days for semester 1, and more than 50% of the participants have less than 5 office discipline referrals to date. With regard to secondary school students, Horizon Academy indicated that they have 8 students currently receiving services on campus. Attendance data indicated that participants demonstrated a 20 to 40% decrease in the number of absences compared to last year. Behaviorally, there was a 45% decrease overall in office discipline referrals for the group, and select students demonstrated a 60 to 75% decrease in discipline referrals. These are 2 highlighted schools. I have some additional data for the other schools. Liberty Middle has 10 students currently receiving services. Data provided by the school indicated that 70% are currently passing all core subjects, 80% have missed less than 10% of days, and 90% have 3 or fewer referrals. 70% of those having only 1 or even 0 referrals to date. Howard Middle also has 10 students currently receiving services. Data provided by the school indicated that 60% are passing all courses, 70% have missed less than 10% of school, and 90% have 3 or fewer discipline referrals. 10 students are served at Fort King Middle School. According to the data provided, at least 70% of students are passing most core courses, and 40% of the students are above the average attendance rate. Behaviorally, 2 students have incurred no additional discipline referrals since beginning the program, and 50% of the students have demonstrated a decrease in discipline referrals since the first semester. At this time, I would like to introduce Ms. Shawana Hughes to share information about Elevate Marian Mentorship Program, unless you have questions.
I do.
We're getting in the rhythm now. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you for that information. I see the information on Oak Crest and Horizon. Is there a way that you can get us those stats for those other schools
Yes,
that
sir.
cut different service as well?
Will do.
Go ahead.
Sure. Similarly to the way we receive the information on the SKIP program, how many employees, tutors, are they classified as tutors or mentors? How many people are providing the service to these students?
So I can tell you for the 3 schools that initially we had that scope of work had 3 mentors that were assigned. I'm not sure whether additional mentors were hired when they added the other schools.
Okay? So 3 mentors for 55 students.
I can confirm 3 mentors.
So currently they're in 5 schools, about to be in 6 with Lakeware.
Yes, sir.
Additional 30 students. Correct?
Mhm.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
do we, you also mentioned, again, I'm going back to what we just heard in the SKIP program. So that requirement was a minimum of 2 hours a month for the SKIP program. Do we also have a requirement on the number of hours that we see with Cut Different, and what is that?
They do weekly sessions, and it's 30 minutes weekly.
30 minutes a week?
So it's basically 2 hours a month still.
Okay.
Something that I would like to ask about Cut Different, because we made a commitment to this program a couple years ago, just dipped our toe in very lightly, and now the funding is accelerating as the need has presented itself, and it's something we're going to be voting on again very shortly. So there's, according to my understanding, Cut Different also has a huge community participation component in terms of exposure trips, where the students are somehow able to be transported, around the community and get a chance to get a real view into the real world and all of the opportunities that we have available, career exploration, things like that. Are the students that we are serving on our campuses, do you know if any or all of them are then also part of the community piece? Because if the answer to that is yes, it makes me understand, it makes it more understandable why the financial commitment is high and getting higher.
I can answer that one. Yes, those are our students that are being served in the community. And it goes beyond just, I can say this because my church is one that partners with them. They go beyond just local trips. They're doing trips around the state as well for exposure for those kids, so yes.
And I believe also they provide after-school, I'm sorry.
Go
ahead.
I'm so sorry. They provide also after-school activities and lessons
Right.
also.
So with that in mind, understandably, if these 55 students or 56 students are also receiving outside supports through the same programming, and it's possible that some of these increases are not just from what's occurring in school. So I want to clarify, especially since Chair Thrower has noted, the request is for us to have an increase in funding, but yet the funding that Marion County Public Schools provides to any of these programs, the intention is that that funding is used for programming inside the 4 walls of the school, whether that be during school or after-school tutoring. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so any of that funding, regardless of who the student is, should not be used to supplement something done outside of the traditional school day and/or something provided in the 4 walls of the school.
Correct.
And I think that becomes part of the question. While the duplication of services may actually be helping these specific students, and we may be seeing increased academics and attendance and things from these core students, if in fact they're not just receiving services during school, they're also getting them after school and on weekends and on weekend trips and all. And honestly, that would be helpful for me as a board member to know how many of those 56 students are in fact participating in all of the extra, because that further says there's more of a community need beyond what the school system is providing. And that isn't going to come within taxpayer dollars of what the school district dollars are that we have. It'll come from outside support and the need for additional funding outside if that wraparound idea is really what's making a difference.
Okay.
Thank
And I can't speak to that. I'm appreciative that you were able to speak to that, but I can have a conversation with them and get some additional information.
Thank you.
Dr. James?
I'm just going to ask the question that everyone is thinking in their head. Is the funding the increase in funding that we're supposed to be we will be voting on yes or no on Tuesday? It's a significant increase. Is that funding solely for the work that's being done within the four walls of Marion County Public Schools?
To my knowledge, it is. That's what's in the scope of work that's provided by.
I'm just looking, yep, that's all I wanted was either confirmation or denial that the increase in funding is going to be used directly for the work being done during the school day or after the school day at Marion County Public School campuses.
That is what is included in the scope of work that they provide.
Thank you.
And that includes the 30 positions, the 30 spots at Lake Weir that they're asking for.
That's in addition to that's what the new amendment is.
Correct. Okay.
Right. And then that's the piece that's being paid for through UNICEF funds, and that is the piece that principals have discretion to ask for what they think they need for their particular school, for their particular students to best serve those kids. And I think that that's an important distinction because, you know, we have a lot of questions. There's a lot of knowledge up here. You know, all of us have served in the schools in some way, shape, or form. And I'm just a firm believer that the ones that are the closest to the work, we need to be listening very closely and carefully and thoughtfully to what they are asking for, because they're the ones that are doing it, quote unquote, on the daily. You know, if something is a preposterous, you know, it would hopefully never to make it to us to be approved or denied. But when we have, what I'm hearing is a recurring theme so far is that we have, I'm going to say it, thousands of students that are in great need. And now we're up to over $4 million worth of supports financially that we're being asked to provide. And just from me, I would much rather provide the support in the beginning and proactively than deal with the heartbreak of what comes later. So this is a very, very important conversation to be having, and thank you, Board Member James, you know, for directly asking the elephant in the room question. You know, we can always count on you for that, and it is important because we all have our own ways of thinking this through. One of the most important things is for the community to have a strong handle on what our challenge is, and the students that we are being asked to serve, of which they are just as unique as every single board member sitting up here. And we need to have an answer for each and every student to serve and help them be successful so they graduate and then know that there's lots of opportunities here so they can come back to our school system and work for us and be successful. All right.
Thank you. So while we continue in this train of thought, is the SKIP program offered at Lake Weir Middle School?
Oh, I don't have the list of all the schools.
Ms. Kiner, do you know if SKIP is
Imagine Ms. McCall would know.
Well, is SKIP currently, I know there are at 14 different schools, but is SKIP currently being offered at Lake Weir Middle, and if not, why?
We have that list.
I do not think it currently is. And I can speak to the fact that Lake Weir Middle School utilized Cut Different mentoring services last school year. I do not know if that's why they didn't partake in SKIP, but I do know they utilized Cut Different mentoring services last year as well at Lake Weir Middle.
Okay.
Lake Weir Middle is
And,
not.
and the reason we didn't renew earlier on than now, if they utilized them last year, then there was a decision someone made to not have them come on board in the first semester. And
That was a funding release issue,
okay, all right.
availability of funds.
thank you, that clarified that for me. But again, for clarity, 30 students at Lake River Middle School for roughly the same amount, roughly, as what we're paying for 119 students through the SKIP program, and a minimum of 2 hours per month is still the same we're receiving from SKIP that we will from Cut Different.
I can tell you that's what is in Cut Different scope of work, the hours and the time that you mentioned. However, I can tell you that having been a part of Lake River Middle School the last year and a half, I have seen Mr. Gilmore and his mentors on campus in addition to the amounts of time that are in the scope of work, mentoring students. I have also witnessed teachers going to the principal, Mr. Jacobs, there at Lake River Middle School, asking for Mr. Gilmore and the mentors to come into the classroom because they do a lot of work that's not necessarily outlined in the scope of work. They actually do work into the classrooms where they mentor the students and really get them acclimated into the classroom and utilizing the strategies that they've taught them in one-on-one counseling outside of the classroom. They go in and implement that in the classroom as well.
Okay. And Ms. Kynard, since you have firsthand knowledge, have you potentially seen more than 3 people? Mr. Gilmore, in addition to more than, because initially we've heard that they have 3 people potentially, and have you seen more than 3?
I have, and I also can tell you that he's also very picky in who he has on the campuses as well, as we would want him to be in front of the students. And I can tell you that the work that they've done at Horizon Academy this year, the grant funding that they utilized expired in September, the end of September there, and Mr. Gilmore and his team have continued to volunteer at Horizon with the students that they started with in the beginning of the year. And I have seen them on the campus as well, and the data that's there is up to date for the students that they've been working with volunteering at Horizon this year.
Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And just as a point of clarification, and Ms. McCall might be able to offer this, but I believe I heard that the SKIP funding is maxed out. And so putting SKIP at Lake River Middle is not currently even an available option. So Cut Different is filling the gap that is created with a lack of funding for the SKIP program. If that's, I'm looking for clarification on that.
It's a conversation.
That's what it sounds like I'm hearing too.
So we did contact Lake River Middle School early on and had no response from Lake River Middle, and I guess because Cut Difference probably was there. So when we were looking at our funding in the beginning of last school year, we knew that Lake River Middle, because we'd had calls that Lake River Middle probably could use our services, and they did not respond to my coordinator. That's all I can tell you.
And they had Cut Different on their campus last year.
I believe so. And
Yes.
I mean, I think, they are a great program, so I'm glad they have somebody. I was not aware they had Cut Difference, but as long as they have somebody, I think that's great. And they're serving a need, Cut Difference is.
Okay, and at this point, this school year, SKIP could not go into Lake River Middle because your funding sources are maxed out.
Well, because of word of mouth, we used to have to go make phone calls to principals to talk about our program. Now they're calling us. So we are maxed out based on the need and the desire to have us on campus, yes.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
And
Hold on. Any more questions for Ms. McCall?
And your funding, again, I'm just reiterating, your funding for the SKIP program comes from the Department of Juvenile Justice.
That is correct. It is a grant through the Department of Juvenile Justice that they increase for us each year so we can add more mentors. When we started 4 years ago, we had 3 mentors, and we're now, I believe, at 7. And some of that is group mentoring as well, because that works really well with kids. So if you really want to follow us, go to the Marion County Children's Alliance Facebook page, because it's got a lot of what we're doing with our kids on there.
And that's the only funding for the SKIP program.
We have unrestricted dollars through donations that come in to help us fund things that the grant does not fund. So unrestricted dollars for art projects and different things. We do have donations, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. McCall. This is a great, robust conversation. So because this board will be voting on a contract in the coming days for more than $200,000, or roughly, we'll just say $200,000 for a round number, for Cut Different, that is a UNICEF grant. If the call had come whenever you reached out to Lake Weir Middle, potentially that grant, the answer could have already occurred from DJJ to the Children's Alliance to say, yes, you can have additional funding sources for SCIP, and potentially that money could have been used. Because essentially, I understand that the money's tapped out right now. What you have is tapped out, I get it. But we're about to allocate another potentially $200,000 to Lake Weir Middle School for the purpose of what SCIP also provides. So I'm just clarifying.
So we could have gone to DJJ to say, could another organization join in? They have very strict criteria on their grant, so could another organization join in? We could have asked that question, but we just went to other schools that really wanted us there. So,
Thank you.
And thank you, Board Member Campbell, and thank you, Ms. McCall. We continue to be so grateful for the partnership with the Marion County Children's Alliance. And what I will share is that this conversation is proving that we need a variety of programs to meet student needs. Each one is unique. Each one is unique in its funding. Each one is unique in its focus. And so that is also something that is important to consider. One of the things that I really love and admire about the Cut Different program is that the kids are getting that support in the schools, and then also the exposure trips. You know, having that window of opportunity, it changes kids' lives, and that's something that I think is a true strength. Fiscally, we're going to have some very big decisions to make. We're already having to make them, you know, as the federal funding dries up. You know, we may get another infusion because maybe the folks at higher level than us will realize, hey, having really robust summer programs and having a lot of support and intervention makes a difference. Who knew? You know, it meets kids' needs. And you know, we've seen it happen before in the past. Right at the time we thought we were dead in the water, we get another nice infusion of cash, but we can't operate on that maybe happening. So I would encourage, you know, any program and potential partner that is already working with us or wants to work with us to make sure that their scope of work includes everything that they're doing. And those of us that just want to do good things for kids, we don't count the hours a lot of times either, you know? We do the work, we meet the needs, and that's primary. But when budget becomes tighter and tighter and we really have to sharpen our pencils even more, that stood out to me, you know, on the paperwork side. Let's make sure that the scope matches the commitment. I think that that's important. Anything else? Yes, Board Member James.
I wanted to take just a brief moment to recognize Dr. Gullett's leadership with Ms. Kynard and Mr. Frazier and the other area superintendents who are allowing principals to decide what's best for their campus. Because that is ultimately what is the best possible way to do this, is we trust our leaders on our campuses to make the best decision for their students and their teachers that they lead, and we're giving them the discretion and opportunity to decide what organizations they want to work in their schools. And this conversation to me highlights that this is exactly that some organizations like SCIP are perfect for some schools, and there are other organizations like Cut Different that are perfect for other schools. And if SCIP fit every single school need, Cut Different would have not been created, because Cut Different came and blossomed from a need in our community that was not being met. So I applaud Dr. Gullett giving the discretion to school-based leaders to make the decisions that are best for their students today and every day. That's all I got.
Thank you, Board Member James. Anything else from the board?
Chair, I just wanted to also comment on Cut Different one last time. I am a full supporter of how Cut Different was established. I was working in the nonprofit community actually and had a meeting with Mr. Gilmore when they were getting started. So I was very familiar with how they were birthed, what the vision was, and all of the wonderful things. As a United Way Education Vision Council member, happy to allocate resources there. I've been an individual donor for Cut Different for a long time, but I think when we're talking taxpayer dollars, which is what our role is here as school board members, it becomes a different conversation, and that's why I'm grateful that we've had the opportunity to scrutinize this conversation more than just having a contract on a consent agenda that we were going to vote on a few weeks ago. So I think that this robust discussion has been helpful today, not only for individual board members like myself, but also for the community to have clarity and full understanding of what is provided on a number of fronts, including the next program. So I'll do a segue for you.
Okay.
Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Nodal, for continuing to answer all of our questions, and Ms. McCall and Ms. Keinert and the others to follow. Again, I want to reiterate it. It's truly because we are passionate, we care, our district is up and coming, we're accelerating, and we're all about it. So carry on, ma'am.
And this was truly, you can see it's a team effort, for sure.
You bet.
At this time, I would like to invite Ms. Shawana Hughes to share information about the Elevate Marian Mentoring Program.
Great. Morning and Happy New Year, Ms. Hughes.
Happy New Year to everyone on the board and Dr. Gullett. Okay, this morning I'm here to speak to you about Elevate Marian Mentorship Program. Elevate Marian Mentorship Program originated from this administration's vision to have an internal mentoring opportunity for students in the middle school setting. The purpose of the mentorship program is to provide students with mentors to empower them to succeed in all areas of their lives. The program is designed for each mentor to support their assigned mentee from grade 6 through grade 8. The initial selection criteria for students encourage school leaders to identify grade 6 students with the level 2 on the ELA 2022 spring assessment. An early warning indicator for behavior, a parent and guardian consent form, and completions of surveys for both the family and the student. The parent survey allowed parents to share their hopes and dreams for their children. And students had to convey areas they would like to improve and also their hobbies. District leaders were provided an overview of the expectations of the mentorship program. District leaders had to have completed our Youth Mental Health First Aid certification and committed to 60 minutes each month. They also had to complete a survey indicating their interest in mentoring and share their personal hobbies. A virtual meeting was held for all mentors to discuss expectations of the program and our reporting process. The mentors were given strategies for the initial meeting with their mentees and several questions and activities to help build relationships with their mentees. Family engagement liaisons in many of the settings serve as a contact person for mentors when they would like to build relationships with the families of their mentees. Mentoring middle school students provides guidance, boosts confidence, enhances academic performance, and helps students navigate crucial transitional phases in their lives. Additionally, adult relationships outside their family support increased confidence, self-awareness, and communication skills. Diverse perspectives increase problem-solving skills for our students. Mentors help mentees set goals and promote academic growth. There are also benefits to employees that mentor. There have been findings that employees that mentor have greater job satisfaction. Developmental relationships are a foundation for young people to thrive and exhibit resilience regardless of their backgrounds or circumstances. The Elevate Marian mentorship program is influenced by research that was conducted by Search Institute. The developmental relationships framework is comprised of 5 things for asset development. They support young people by focusing on 5 critical characteristics of asset development. Ensuring that every young person has access to developmental relationships they need is a vital predictor of their productivity as adults in our community and society. In our virtual training, the 5 C's were discussed, and mentors were instructed to choose one or more of the C's to focus on during their mentoring session. Our first C is connection, which refers to our positive relationships with families, peers, school, and the community. Confidence refers to students' beliefs and one's ability. Character refers to students demonstrating integrity and responsibility. Contribution speaks to students being active participants in their world, and competence refers to having a sense of mastery and achievement in various areas of their lives. In total, we have 15 mentors and mentees. In year 1, we had 12 mentees, 2 withdrew, 1 did leave our district, and the other one did go to a virtual school setting. In year 2, our school participation has increased, and our number of mentees. The 1 student that withdrew is now attending virtual school. You can also see from our year 1, which began in November of 2022, there were 78 mentoring visits that were conducted, totaling 4,680 minutes. This year, as to date of December 8th, we have had 1,320 minutes, which constitutes 22 mentoring visits. Elevate Marian program initially launched in November of 2022. 100% of the students that were in our program in the first year were promoted to 7th grade. Cohort 1 baseline data is exhibited in the darkest blue color. In gray, Cohort 1 had their first year with a mentor. That started in November for most of our mentors. You can see that attendance was decreased as far as the days that our students took after receiving mentoring services from that baseline year. Our discipline data, we do see that there was an increase coming from 5th grade, moving into a different setting of 6th grade. We attributed that to many of our students being able to adjust to what those middle years look like in middle school, and also having more autonomy to be transported to classes and take responsibility in decision-making when they are with a different peer group. The grades actually were finalized from that year. They were finalized last night, but what we see is from our last year, 47 students as a final grade had, not 47, I'm sorry, there were 47 final grades of A's, B's, and C's at the end of last year for Cohort 1. Just sticking together. Cohort 2 focus areas shows a baseline of our students that have been added to our cohort this year, or where they were last year when they were in 5th grade, because this is our new 6th grade cohort. So you can see the attendance days, there were 23 days of absent days that were logged for our 7 students that have joined us. For discipline, in their previous year when they were in 5th grade, there was 12 total days of indoor or outdoor suspension for those students, and collectively they accumulated 19 discipline referrals. Also, the grades were finalized last night for semester 2, but preliminary grade reporting indicated that 5 out of our 7 students have passing grades for semester 1. Another program that we support through our department is Marion County Public Schools Full Steam Ahead Tutoring and Enrichment Program. This is a project-based learning opportunity where our students get an opportunity to focus on the STEAM field and receive academic assistance in subject areas. Certified Marion County Public School teachers provide hands-on experiences with a real-world approach to learning science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Homework support for students as well is provided in a participating community center. Full Steam Ahead tutoring opened at Mary Sue Rich on December 5th. They had completed 4 sessions with 36 students registered, but 13 have attended. The meeting dates are every Tuesday and Thursday. Marion opened their tutoring center on December 8th. They have completed 3 sessions and 5 students registered and 3 in attendance thus far. The tutoring days are every Wednesday and Friday. The tutoring at Bellevue Community Center started on December 19th with 9 students registered and 4 students that were in attendance. Tutoring is available every Wednesday at the Bellevue location. It is our goal to increase our student participation in this new initiative. One of the reasons why this initiative was added is because we incorporate our Resiliency program into this. This is an extension of our school day for our students, and so Full Steam Ahead offers the tutoring for our students, the enrichment, but also resiliency check-ins. So you can see as the program schedule, when students arrive, we do take attendance. We have a resiliency check-in where we use those prompts and those questions. The teachers are certified. There are 2 teachers at each center. They go through their transition of a snack, get their homework help, and dive directly into their project-based projects for STEAM. And then there's a wrap-up and cleanup for our students. We are really excited about increasing that. This is funded this year through ESSER, which we all know sunsets in September of 2024, and we are planning to be able to cover this program through our Title I funds for the upcoming year. Our next person that we're going to actually bring up is Dr. Annie Hembrook. That's going to close our presentation out with the last slide. After questions or comments. Go ahead, Mr.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Question, comments, discussion from the board. Board Member Cummings.
So roughly, we've had a bunch, not a bunch, we've had a few register that did not show up. So currently you got, I think 20 in the entire, that's actually coming. Because I saw family engagement liaisons, do they have anything to do with checking to see why these kids did not come, or do any follow? Is there any follow-up to find out why they registered and did not show up? If there were, what are the issues?
Okay, so some of the schools, the family engagement liaisons are more active than others, but our program specialists are working with the surrounding schools for Mary Sue Ridge, Bellevue, and Marion Oaks to make sure that they're making contact with those family engagement liaisons so they can contact those families to see what may be the situation where they may not attend. Some of them, it's just conflicts is what we're getting the reports of family conflicts or a child being sick and not being able to attend. But we are looking to increase. We did start last month, but we are looking to have better attendance. But the locations seem to be really great locations, and all of the centers are extremely active. So we're looking to increase that with participation from our fellows as well.
And I'm so appreciative to see that there are, these are in many different areas, 3 different areas of the county. Is there an intent to expand? Because I don't see anything far east, I don't see anything far west, I don't see anything north. Are we looking for other sites to possibly expand this one?
So this year, we are continuing to the end of the year with these 3 sites, as this is a pilot or new initiative that was created. But definitely, we will be looking to expand as we're able to see success. And of course, the need continues to grow and the interest from parents to be able to bring these students to the community center once they are released from schools.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion, comment from the board? I just wanted to say thank you and also ask, Elevate Marion and Full Steam Ahead, you mentioned is being funded right now primarily through ESSER funds?
Elevate Marion does not have any attached funding because those are our leaders at the district level, which are serving as mentors. So just Full Steam Ahead is currently funded by ESSER, and next year to be picked up by Title I.
Okay, and if you have the number right now, great. If not, I'd love to know how much ESSER funding is being dedicated to the Full Steam Ahead. And I also want to extend my thanks, to our district leaders that are volunteering their time with Elevate Marion, or maybe they're getting stipends or something. But the fact that they're doing it after school is amazing and such a testament and commitment to kids.
Okay, thank you so much. Just to answer your question, so far just the funding that's tied to it has been our kits and then being able to pay our teachers for the planning because they need to plan before they come in with our youngsters and their time. So right now, because we're just starting in December, we have only spent approximately $4,000 thus far.
So let me ask
Okay.
a question,
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, because I had asked about this before. If I'm not mistaken, Elevate Marion is district staff that's supporting, and they're not getting a stipend.
Correct.
It's basically all volunteer.
Absolutely correct. So
That's
they're
what
mainly,
that's what I've heard before.
yes, directors, executive directors as well, chief financial officer, and also some coordinators. So those are the individuals that's taking time throughout their day to go to visit our middle schools and visit our students for those mentoring sessions.
Madam Chair, if I may, the whole purpose behind the Elevate Marion is we have Take Stock, but we need to start earlier. And this is a way for us to start earlier and mentor the students at no cost with just volunteer services to our students. We have to start earlier. So grateful for Take Stock. I'm a Take Stock mentor, but we need to start in the earlier grades with our students who need us the most. So the hope and the goal is that we continue to expand this and offer it early and earlier and for more students, but no cost for that.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And I do want to commend superintendent and our district staff for doing that. When I worked for the state, we got so many volunteer hours we could take off to go mentor. And I think that's kind of what you're doing with this program. And I think it's very beneficial, not only to the students, but to the staff as well, because it gets them in the schools and allows us to have the visibility and to impart some wisdom to some of these kids. So thank you.
Absolutely. Anything else from the board? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I just also wanted to share how wonderful the Mary Sue Rich Community Center is. I go there to play pickleball primarily, but every time I go there, I see Marion Transit pull up and, people are getting off and having different meetings and socials, and there's just all kinds of activity going on. And it really is the whole cross-section of our community. And I believe that was Mary Sue Rich's vision, and it's just really growing and blossoming into an amazing, vibrant community center. So that's pretty cool. Okay, and I guess we'll move along.
So today you've heard about resiliency efforts, resources, and education, and we wanted to give you a snapshot of what that looks like at one of our contracted sites. Resiliency at PACE incorporates many of the strategies mentioned today. Each girl at PACE has an individualized service plan, which includes specific goals. These goals are developed between the young lady and her counselor. Also included are how the girls will address how they will grow and change through the 9 guiding principles of PACE. Counselors meet with the girls bi-weekly and address any immediate supports or concerns that the girls are expressing, but it's also the opportunity to progress monitor each girl's individualized service plan and her progress through those guiding principles. To further support resiliency at PACE, they use a Spirited Girls curriculum, which also has a dedicated elective teacher. So all the girls take this elective where they learn life skills on healthy relationships, general health and well-being, career exploration, and also volunteer services and ways to connect and contribute back to the community. The Girls Leadership Council is a program where girls use their voice to advocate for themselves and other girls at PACE. They work on community projects, and some of the girls mentor each other in the program. They listen to the challenges that the girls are experiencing, and they take this and report that back to the leadership to begin the problem-solving process. The Girls Leadership Council helps other girls understand their value in life and the world, and the importance of engaging in specific activities and how their involvement is helping with that impact. And finally, the REACH program services are provided to girls as needed. This can be provided in the house, the school, the community, or online. And these services are specifically counseling for behavioral, mental, and social support. And at this time, I can turn it over to the Superintendent Gullett for any final comments.
Thank you, and I'm sure we have some questions for you.
Of course.
For the presentation. I think I heard Board Member Cummings out of the gate.
Ms. Dr. Hembrook, thank you for PACE. We know that PACE has been around for a while in the district. Do we have any data on the success of PACE and how well it is doing? How many kids actually leave PACE and return back to their base schools, and how successful they are?
I can get you that data and send that to all board members.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Board Member Kimmel?
Thank you. Thank you for those questions, Board Member Cummings, because I anecdotally have some of that information, but haven't had any updated. And I know that previously when I had information on it, the success rate was pretty significant, and they did have a great return on the students that chose to go back to base school, and then they did have a certain number of girls that chose to stay at PACE. And because it is a choice program, it was good that the girls that chose to stay, and they were successful there, and the information, again, anecdotally. So I would be excited to receive current information on the most recent students they've had over the last 3 to 5 years. I haven't seen anything recent on that too. So thank you for that question.
No problem.
Thank you, Board Member Campbell. And for myself, yes, I seem to remember during COVID, like so many other programs, the enrollment really decreased at PACE. So I would love to know the current enrollment. And I know we just approved their contract recently, and right off the top of my head, I can't remember the exact dollar amount, and I would love to have that number just as part of my running tally.
Okay. And I can tell you, since the board approved that contract, we've had multiple conversations and meeting with PACE, and we're already working on increasing enrollment.
Wonderful. It really is a fantastic program, and that's what also made me excited about Full Steam Ahead and Elevate Marian. You know, middle school is just awkward all the way around, and to support kids when they're really little, it can be engaging and fun, and to support kids when they're older is a different perspective, but that middle school age can be so difficult to reach. And so I'm really glad to hear the focus on the earlier intervention, and also a sharper lens on middle school. I know our dads on duty are at a lot of our middle schools now, and gosh, are they making a difference. I serve Fort King, and they are there, they are consistent. The kids are always asking, are you coming tomorrow? Even a couple of heartbreaking questions like, well, will you be my dad? I mean, if that doesn't tear at your heartstrings, you're not human. And it just demonstrates the need. But yes, I would like to see current enrollment numbers and also the contract costs. I can look the contract costs up myself. It was just, a meeting or two ago. Thank you.
No problem.
Dr. Gullett.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I thank you all for your questions and robust discussion. Thank the team. As you can see, this really takes a lot of effort and work, but we are all very committed to meeting students where they are. It's a complex process. When we talk about academic success, all of the supporting factors, we have to try to remove as many barriers as we can and address, as we often talk about, confronting the reality of what our students are facing, and many are facing those adult issues. And so I'm just incredibly proud of our team, not just sitting here today that you heard from, but everyone in the field and the schools that are doing amazing work every day to reach students and to be there for them each and every day in every way. So thank you for your feedback and for your support of our work, of our students.
Thank you, Dr. Gullett, and thanks to all of you that presented today, and please extend our deep thanks to all of the rest of the staff that's back at school and in the trenches today. We're doing all the things that we've just been talking about for the last few hours. So it's very appreciated. I think we'll go ahead and take a quick break before we delve into our next comment. Okay. So it is 11:02. We'll take. Oh, I'm sorry.
Public comment.
Oh, I always miss that. Is there any public comment? Thank you, Board Member Kemp.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, familiar staff, so I didn't really think about that. Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead and take a break. It is 11:02. Let's break for about 10 minutes. Thank you. We are back at 11:10 a.m. to continue with our work session. Dr. Gullett, shall we introduce the next topic, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. And we're going to move on to the instructional materials for adoption review process for mathematics and social studies. So I'll bring forward Ms. Talbert Irving to kick us off. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Talbert Irving. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, everyone, and good morning again. At this time, we'll bring up Kelly Brower, who will take us through the process for adopting the instructional materials and the recommendations for the instructional materials for adoption.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Brower. Happy New Year.
Morning, Happy New Year. It's exciting to be here today and hear all the good work being done in resiliency. So it's always really exciting when we get into instructional materials adoptions and we can look at all the new materials that we can bring into our schools to support our student achievement, support our teachers. So the instructional materials process always starts with a call for publisher submissions. We did that in early September. We do use a platform called EdCredible that's used throughout the state, where it notifies all publishers of exactly what we're looking to adopt here in Marion County. All of their information gets uploaded into that program, and we use that program throughout the entire adoption process. In early October, we brought in our district evaluation committee. Our district evaluation committee is made up of our ESE folks, our ESOL folks, technology, our coordinators and program specialists that work in the area of the textbooks, and we look at, do they meet all of the needs of our particular district? So we keep that committee open for about a month. This committee is responsible for moving forward no more than 3 publishers into the next round of committee review. The publishers that were brought forward from that district committee to the teacher committee for social studies K-5 were Analytic Orange, Florida History Makers, grades K through 5, and McGraw-Hill Education, Florida Social Studies, grades K through 5. The publishers evaluated by the mathematics review committees were McGraw-Hill, Reveal Math for grade 3 acceleration, grade 4 acceleration, and grade 6 acceleration, as well as Savas, Envision, Florida Best Mathematics, also for grade 3, grade 4, and grade 6 acceleration. The teacher review committee, the community review committee is made up of up to 15 members. Community members are appointed by the school board. You send me your recommendations. There's also parent members. There is a district application that gets posted on our homepage. And by teacher members. Teachers apply to be on the committee, and then it is reviewed by the coordinators of those subject areas. We really look at making sure we have teacher members from all regions of the district, so teachers from the south, north, east, and west, as well as we look at what certifications they have. The review committee timeline, November 4th through the 8th, December 8th, there was viewing opportunities on EdCredible for the committee to look over all materials, all ancillary materials, the major tool, the digital platforms, as well as come and see the real products at the professional library. We then, on December 7th, we have a community review night where anyone from the community is invited to come and see the materials, ask questions, provide feedback. And then on December 11th, we take all the feedback that we've received, all the information that has been accumulated in EdCredible, and we head over to Westport High School. This is where the committees meet and discuss and then vote on which product they would like to move forward for superintendent recommendation. So the review of materials and feedback by committee members. So they look at the publishers, the textbooks individually first, And then at Westport, they have robust, and I mean very robust, conversation collectively to ensure that all the different viewpoints are heard. It's always interesting what one person notices and what they bring to the table. So that's actually a geeky fun night for me. I love that conversation. Then the committee makes a recommendation through a vote, and those recommendations are provided to Superintendent Gullett. The superintendent then makes her recommendations, and that's what I'm bringing forward to you today. All of this is done through School Board Policy 2521, which gives the superintendent the authority to recommend. So here's where we are. The superintendent recommendation for social studies grades K through 5 is Florida History Makers through Analytic Orange is the publisher. This will be for social studies grades K through 5. This is a really exciting social studies program. It is very hands-on, it is very kinesthetic and tactile. It uses quite a few modalities. It also is very strong at supporting teachers, including slide shares for every unit. I think the teachers are going to be really excited and proud to have this in their classrooms. Superintendent recommendations for Mathematics for Acceleration. For Mathematics for Acceleration for 3A and 4A, the publisher is Savas. For Envision Best Mathematics, which is what we currently use in our elementary schools. And then for Mathematics for Acceleration 6A is Florida Reveal from McGraw-Hill. This is the same product that you voted to accept last year for Mathematics Grade 7 Accelerated. So 3A and 4A would be Savas, 6A and 7A would be Reveal from McGraw-Hill. So as we know, it's a long process to get through an adoption, lots of statute requirements. So today is January 4th and we begin the process. I will go and post the public links to the textbooks that have been recommended. We will open that for 20 days, including today. On January 23rd will be our first public hearing. That is a hearing just for anyone from the public to come and speak to the board. On February 13th will be the actual vote. Each grade and each product will be its own vote. That is new per statute last year. We will then open our official 30-day objection window. If we have an official 30-day objection, then we will meet again on March 26th with a magistrate to hear that with a hearing officer. Hopefully by March 27th, we are looking to prepare those orders for all the new textbooks and getting them ordered, getting them in, barcoding them, and getting them ready for the first day of school. So this is just an example of what public access will look like. I do have a section on the home page for instructional materials. These are the links, any passwords, usernames that anybody in the public would need. They also can come to my office anytime, Monday through Friday. I love to talk with them. We're very happy to show them the materials. Their feedback is always well listened to. Again, anything we can hear is always great. And with that, I will turn it over to Superintendent Gullett.
Thank you, Ms. Brower, and I want to thank you again publicly for managing this process so well. We're very open and transparent about what we do and how we do it, even beyond the state statutes. So thank you for providing access and doing this so smoothly. Thank you, Board. We're available for questions.
Thank you. Sure echo that. Great presentation and love the transparency and just the comprehensiveness of the whole process. Anything else from the board? Board Member James.
I imagine the answer is yes, but just for the record, you have the date of March, the end of March, to be able to move forward with ordering materials. It seems every year we go into August and we are missing some materials. With this deadline at the end of March, do you believe that we should be able to secure all materials ahead of the start of school?
Absolutely. That deadline is very aligned to when I start to order the school's consumables for the next year. Also, part of my job is to make sure that I'm speaking with the depository, making sure that they're aware of where we think we're going with publishers in Marion County. So what happens is they already know that I'm bringing this recommendations to the board. They already start to secure those numbers for us of materials. So those will get shipped, and then my department works very diligently to get everything barcoded that needs to be barcoded so that the schools do not have to be worried with that, and to get it into their inventory. So I feel very confident that we'll start school with K-5 social studies and all of our mathematics acceleration.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
thank you for this presentation. I love the transparency of it, as always. I love the fact that, I won't say I love the fact, the community has access to be able to make their comments and to be a part of this whole process. So thank you for putting it out there, and I would hope that the community is listening and hearing, and if they do have any objections or whatever, let's get that stuff taken care of so we can make sure we do get the books in time for school, for the start of school. So thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Cummings. Vice Chair Conrad.
I just want to say thank you. I'm really excited about these two adoptions, as I think they were weak areas in the district for us, and so I'm really excited to see that we're getting a social studies curriculum. Very excited about that, and I'm also very excited about the accelerated math and visiting with math teachers. It's my understanding that there were some gaps for our accelerated students, and this is really going to fit well for them. And so I'm just really excited about this today, and I'm looking forward to getting it underway. I do have one question, and really because I drive Deb crazy when we get to textbook adoptions. What kind of turnout did you get? How many people showed up for the last committee? You said there, we can have as many as 15. How many showed up?
So we had a tremendous response from teachers.
Okay.
So we were really able to look at location, because we, again, wanted to make sure we had teachers from north, south, east, west, because I think that's really important. But we were really able to look at certifications, bringing in lots of teachers who have that ESE, that ESOL, that K3 lens, that K6 lens. So we had an outstanding, I think no committee, they all started at least 12, and I think they all ended at least 10. A couple of people drop off. It's a little more work than what they think it is.
And I should have started with, the reason I asked is because I, as a board member, get a lot of input about curriculum. But then when it comes time for someone to commit, to volunteer their time to be part of a committee, I have really struggled and gone through a lot of people, which is, it's been a headache for Ms. Riedel, because I'm calling and asking and, finagling and switching people, trying to get someone to do the job. And it's something I'm passionate about. It's on the ground level of what we're doing in educating our children, what we're using every day. And so I was just curious. And I'm glad to hear that you have great representation in other areas, but I just wanted to share that as a board member, I am passionate about this, but it's also a challenge for me to get community members to stick with it.
Well, maybe I can help you there. I will tell you, every community member that has served on a committee always stops on the final night to tell me what an amazing experience it was, because they never knew just how involved this whole process is, how much diligence is paid to the process, and they think it's so exciting to get to look at the books when they're brand new. And they really enjoy that night at Westport when they hear the teachers and they're all talking and working together. So I'll just put that out to the community. I think it's an experience that you will enjoy, even though there is a bit of a workload.
Well, thank you so much for your work in moving this forward and putting it out there for us to review. So thank you so much. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vice Chair Conrad. Board Member Campbell.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Conrad, because that ties in perfectly with what I was going to say. I was going to first make a comment that I had one of my community members that was very engaged in the process and communicated with me all throughout and was nothing but complimentary of everything through the process, and grateful that they served and understood how much of a workload it was and all. And so to your point, Vice Chair Conrad, it is a lot. And then that leads to my other comment in that currently each board member has a list of science textbooks that we all need to find 5 committee members from the community who are interested in reviewing science curriculum. Maybe some of the board members have already found those folks. I have not yet, but I am intending to work on that, and we have to have those names in by the end of this month. So if there's anybody out there listening that happens to be interested in serving as a community committee member on textbook adoption review, you're welcome to reach out to me. Any one of us, I'm sure, would be willing to hear from you and consider. I know that oftentimes we receive multiple emails from the same people from time to time, and I have also found those people to be some of the most engaged and interested in participating in this process. So that's one way that I got a very engaged individual involved, and the person really appreciated the process and gave them a look kind of behind the curtain at how diligently we take this process, and that's to your credit. And thank you so much, Ms. Brower, for all you do.
Thank you, Board Member Campbell, and thank you again for your transparent and good work, you and the whole team, Ms. Riedel, Ms. Talbert Irving. And before I forget, is there any public comment? I must be a visual person, because if I don't see a member of the public, then I tend to just glide right over that. Hearing none, thank you again, and we will move on as we begin to wrap up this work session. Before we move into board comments and concerns, I do have a request for an attorney-client session, so at this time I'd like to recognize the board's attorney, Jeremy Powers.
Thank you very much. Board members, I'm notifying you that Attorney Suzanne Green, or designee of the DGH Legal Law Firm, has informed me that advice is needed regarding 2 matters. First, case number 22 CA 220, styled Evan Eckroth versus the School Board of Marion County, Florida. And 2, regarding the estate of Louis Johnson, claim 1140074, incident date April 27, 2023. Pursuant to 286.011 Florida statutes, the Sunshine Law, on behalf of Attorney Green, I'm requesting 2 attorney-client sessions with the board for the purpose of discussing the evaluation and/or compromise of said matters. I've asked the board's clerk to cause reasonable public notice of the time and date of this attorney-client session and the names of the persons attending to be published. It's suggested that the attorney-client sessions be held back-to-back beginning at 9:00 a.m. during a recess of the January 25th, 2024 administrative briefing and work session, or as soon thereafter as may be heard. As required by this statute, only the following individuals will be present: Allison Campbell, School Board Member; Nancy Thrower, Board Chair; Eric Cummings, Board Member; Lori Conrad, Vice Chair; Sarah James, Board Member; Superintendent Diane Gullett, Jeremy Powers, School Board Attorney; and Suzanne Green, Esquire, or the designee of the DGH Legal Law Firm. I've asked a court reporter to record the sessions, also as required by statute. Her notes will be fully transcribed and filed with the board clerk. Upon the conclusion of any litigation and/or settlement of all claims arising out of these matters, the transcripts will be made public record.
Thank you, Attorney Powers. I recommend the board hold 2 attorney-client sessions pursuant to Section 286.011 Florida statutes to discuss these pending matters. Is there any comment or discussion from the board? Board Member Campbell.
Chair Thrower, I believe, and Dr. Gullett can clarify this, but from what we've already learned, that work session agenda is going to be incredibly full. And is there a potential we could hold that attorney-client session sooner than the 25th or at another day and time? I'm just concerned about that. That agenda is going to be packed that day, and for us to not be here for an hour or more in advance of us getting into the full agenda will be quite time-consuming.
I would have to schedule that with Ms. Green in order to make it another time. My belief is that these should be relatively rapid matters to handle. I'd have to reschedule with the transcriptionist and also with Attorney Green. But I would presume that we would be in and out of there within 30 to 45 minutes. So that's at the board's pleasure. Tell me what you'd like me to do.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, that was one of my comments at the end, is just a reminder to the board that be prepared for the 25th to be a rather long work session based on topic I discussed today and also items that we brought forward and have mentioned previously publicly in December. I anticipate a full day. So if that works for us, if it works for the board, but it will be a full agenda.
Board?
I don't have an issue with staying. We're elected officials. We got to do what we need to do, and so let's handle it. Let's not kick it down the road. If that's the date, let's do it on that day. For me.
And I will make sure to inform all parties that expediency would be of the essence. So, thank you.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. My only, I just want to make sure that if we're going to involve any community members, that they, as best we can, inform them so that nobody is, sitting.
And our staff members.
And our staff,
And if I could confirm, you said 9 a.m. because we do have one of the presentations that we have that's coming forward is somebody coming from outside the community to do a presentation to the board on different ways to do construction in our district. So it's someone who's going to be coming into town. So that was going to be our first presentation. I just need to know about what time to.
Yeah, our court reporter would be available from 8:45 until about 9:45 or 10 o'clock. So starting right at 9 o'clock would be our preference.
Is there an opportunity for the court reporter to be available a little bit earlier? So
8:45 is what I got.
8:45 is.
Yeah, so she's going to be there setting up at that time anyway. So 9 o'clock would be our time for kickoff.
So can we just not tell that person they don't have to be here to 10? And give us that hour, and then we just move forward from there.
Yes, that would be helpful. We'll inform.
Is that the only outside presentation?
At this time, yes. Yes.
You said the 25th?
25th.
And that's also
Yes.
the date Banesh is coming back as well, or
Banesh, they are not coming. We'll have the information from them.
we'll have.
We don't know if they'll be on the call or if they'll be here. The
Okay.
other presentation was the follow-up to the conversation we had before with different ways that we can build our schools. And so we have confirmation that an attorney who has guided this work is coming in because we've met with all the different companies, and this is going to be a presentation to the board of all the different options that are out there from that standpoint, something we've discussed previously.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I think what I'm hearing is that we want to make an effort to make sure that everyone that is going to be involved in this work session is aware of our timeline so that we can just be the most efficient.
And if
Okay.
we have to, we can bring our own lunch and eat.
Oh,
snack, whatever.
yeah, I think it was more the concern about the outside folks.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah, but you raise a great point. I think that is also something we want to plan, maybe Ms. Martinez, thinking in terms of, getting just the sandwiches so that we can kind of just grab and, keep it going.
Or if MTI if they're open by then, if we could, it'll be a Thursday, so maybe they will have something that day. We
Right,
don't know
always
yet.
great to support the Gilded Man. Okay, anything else? Okay, anything else from legal? Might as well kick off with you.
Yes, actually, it's time for our policy updates. Would request that we set a work session as early as we are able within our advertising requirements, which would indicate that we're going to need at least probably two, work sessions to review all of the updated policies that have come back from staff with their edits. The earliest would be the week of January 29th would be for one. We're going to advertise all policies that are up for updating. It requires a 14-day advance notice. So we'll advertise all of those policies right away. And then the ones that are still remaining and outstanding for additional edits, we'll put those on the second work session. So what I would suggest is that we have a work session, again, at the board's discretion. The earliest would be the week of the 29th, and a second one sometime after. Now, if for some reason the week of the 29th is not suitable, that's fine. We can do it anytime in the following week. I just need two work sessions that are dedicated specifically and only to policy review so that we can discuss each of those. And as those of you who have done these in the past, which I think now is everybody, these may go relatively rapidly. There may be 15 or 20 policies in a row that we don't really have any discussion on, and there may be one that is a hot topic that requires a significant amount of discussion. So it's hard to predict exactly how long it will take, but we need to block off as much time as possible within our work session so that we can get through as many as possible. So if the board has dates that are available for the week of the 29th or any thereafter, we can set, I would suggest, 2 work sessions within which to complete those.
Okay, what's everybody's availability looking like?
I'm open.
The 29th, you're open? Is everybody else open on the 29th?
No.
Okay. Dr. Gullett, and thinking about your,
Oh, and I said the week of the 29th. It doesn't have to be the 29th specifically.
right, I was just starting with Monday, which is the 29th. What about Tuesday, the 30th? Anyone, are we all available Tuesday, the 30th?
I'm available till 12:30.
I'm available until 11.
And these would likely be ones that we would want to ensure afternoon availability so that everyone's briefed.
Okay,
Friday, the 2nd.
Friday the 2nd, I'm available. Friday the 2nd,
I'm available Friday, the
Dr.
Groundhog
Gullett.
Day.
I have a conflict with a FADS follow-up on Friday morning between 9 and noon. I'm available, we can make it work on the 1st. I could probably move something on the 30th as our final presentation for district accreditation on the morning of the 30th, and could possibly get that moved.
So our first work session we could do on the 29th, is that what I'm hearing?
No,
No, we're
February
not the
1st, we have a
29th.
Work session already.
Right, February 1st. Do you have what's going to be on that February 1st work session agenda? Or could we dedicate that day? No.
No, we would need to have a work session dedicated solely
Understood.
to.
Understood, that's my question. If
I think we could absolutely do that on the 1st.
February
I
1st.
think the 1st would work. An item that we had on the 25th, I'm already moving to February meeting, which can be done later. So I don't see any reason why we can't do it on the 1st.
So February 1st, and that would just be specifically a policy update work session.
Right?
Right.
And hopefully get through as many as we can, if all of us can dedicate the day or a chunk of the day, a
Yes,
big, good chunk of the day, see
absolutely.
how far we get. You know, I think we figured out the process pretty well, and, you know, that we're not going to focus on Scrivener's errors, you know, we're going to move through.
As long as we have our big notebooks, like in the next week or so, that'd be
Working
helpful.
on that.
Yeah,
That's
Please
going
don't
to
give
be
it to us 2 days before.
legal's job over the next couple of weeks, is putting all that together, so.
right, that's always the background work.
And then as to a second work session, we don't have to decide it now, but we would have to decide relatively soon, so now is probably as good a time as any. Within a week or two of it, I would need probably at least a week, because we're going to need to process those updates from the 1st. So anytime from the week of the 5th, I'd prefer, if we were going to do it that week, that early, that we would weight it toward the latter half of that week. Or the week of the 12th is already relatively busy for us, or the week of the 19th.
Okay, well, we're up in Tallahassee, February 7th, at least the afternoon of February 7th, and then February 8th, which is Wednesday and Thursday. What about Friday, February 9th?
February 9th?
I can do the 9th.
That's the holiday weekend, correct?
yes, no,
No, it's the next weekend.
it's next weekend.
The 19th is President's Day.
Okay. So that'd be, okay.
I-
Yeah, I'm fine.
I can do that. I'd prefer to not, since we were out of town basically for 2 days, I'd prefer to not be tied up in a meeting all day. I'd prefer to just do 2 weeks after the 1st and do like the 15th-ish. But that would be my preference.
And that's completely acceptable. Again, any of that time will be devoted to us trying to move in any further updates after board input on the 1st. So
You're a little more time.
Yeah, that would be
Thursday,
acceptable.
the 15th, day after Valentine's Day. We okay with that?
16th works better, but I can move around some things on the 15th.
So you're good for the 15th?
I could do the 16th as well, so.
I could do 15 or 16.
I'll be out of state.
Okay.
I'll be out of state,
On the 16th?
15th and 16th.
15th and 16th, okay. Well, February 20th is wide open for me. If we're moving- I mean, I
Or
have to push it on
Valentine's
that.
Day, the 14th, we can all wear red or pink.
I am not available on the 14th.
Okay.
Why don't we get with Elena and send her some available dates for the later half of
Should we
February?
give it one last shot? It would be nice to get this
February 20th is wide open. I don't know if
February 20th,
Tuesday.
Tuesday, February 20th.
Sure.
I'll move mentoring.
Okay, so you can make it work? Tuesday, February 20th, Tuesday, February 20th, Dr. Gullett?
I can make that work. Thank you.
Okay,
So I have
going
February,
once?
so I have February 1st and February 20th with start times at 9 o'clock and planning for it to potentially go all day, but it will go until we're done with each batch of updates for those days.
Okay. All right. You good, Ms. Martinez, with those two dates? Okay. All right, anything else from legal?
No, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Okay. Ms. Martinez, anything from your seat, ma'am?
No, Madam Chair, other than you all have received your reservations for the January conference, and you'll receive the February one following, once we get those back.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you very much, Dr. Gullett.
Good morning again. Just to say appropriately so, January is National Mentoring Month. So wasn't that perfect timing? So thank you for supporting and mentoring our students.
Thank you. Board Member Campbell.
Thank you. Welcome back to school, everyone. As I told my children this morning, have a great second semester. I'm excited about that, and hopefully everyone will have a great second semester. I just wanted to give a shout out to Bellevue High School, who will be hosting the Marion County Soccer Tournament next week. So I know that's something that's on my calendar, and just excited about that and all the sports that are going to be up and running. Also, thank you to the team and the work that was done over the holiday with the Osceola Middle School campus restoration and reconstruction that will be underway. Driving by this morning, there was a lot of work that was done in a very short period of time. And so it looked very prepared for students today. And so thank you to the team for working on that diligently. And yeah, I think that'll be it for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Campbell. Vice Chair Conrad.
Oh, yes. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back to school, our teachers and staff and students. And really, I'm just leaving today very grateful for the work that goes into helping our children be the best that they can be all around, not just academically, but with their mental health, planning for their future, all of the things. It's just so comprehensive. And, being in education for such a long time, I'm just still amazed at the amount of work that goes into each and every student here in our district. So I'm closed this morning just being grateful for the work that everyone does and the work that they put into building up our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Conrad. Board Member Cummings.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year. Definitely glad to be back from winter break. I don't think I was really on a break. Seemed like I worked harder during the break than I did before. But glad to be back. Today we saw some great presentations, two very good presentations, and we had very robust discussions. This is what I got on the board for, to have discussions and to be able to do the work of the district to make sure that we're making a difference and helping to move the district in the right direction. So thank you for all those that presented today. Great presentations, and we look forward to getting the additional information that we asked for. We're also coming up on the MLK holidays, and we know that there's a lot of activities in the community that oftentimes they're looking for the board members to show up. I'm hoping that we'll still do the march, which is going to be on the 15th, but this Saturday is the kickoff of a food caravan to Interfaith Emergency Services. That'll start Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, and we'll do a food caravan from the Ocala Christian Education Center over to Interfaith Services. That's 9 o'clock Saturday, and then we normally march on the 15th. So, and normally it's cold. So,
That's why we march fast.
Yes. I look forward to seeing you all there.
The banner.
Yes, and we have the banner, right? We know where it is?
I think so.
Okay, great. And
I think
we can-
so.
In the office, I dropped it off.
Awesome.
Okay, good.
Awesome, and we can meet at the corner there by Mark's Steakhouse where we line up, because we're always right towards the front.
I think that's our spot now.
Yes, I believe that's become our spot. We wish it was open that time of day. Get a little steak under our belts. And it starts at 9, right, the march? And it's very prompt because they've cut off so much traffic. So as long as you're in position by 9 o'clock, how you get there is by bicycle or van or whatever, we'll see you there.
And then there's always that prayer breakfast. We have a lot of district personnel, a lot of representation from the school district at the prayer breakfast. That's going to be on the Saturday the 13th. Prayer breakfast and wreath laying ceremony. So looking forward to those. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Board Member Cummings. Board Member James.
Hi, thank you. Welcome back, everyone. So excited to be back and start semester 2 strong. It's a blank slate, a great opportunity to make good choices and get work turned in and excel academically. I was appreciative of the conversations today. I do believe that we have some great organizations partnering with our school system, and we're able to help close the gap of our students' needs by partnering with all of these organizations. I wish that our needs were not so vast and we could just close the gap ourselves with our own staff and resources that we have, but our needs are great. And what I love about this community is that we are able to join hands and link arms and provide students with the supports that they individually need to be successful. We had a staff member experience a fire over the holiday, and I reached out to Rondo because that staff member also has 2 students, and he was already all over it with the rock. And so that is what I love about this community, is that we are always supporting and finding resources to help our not just our students and our teachers and our staff and our support personnel, but our whole community grow and prosper and get what they need. And so I always tell people, your help is just one request away. So you just have to use your voice and say, hey, I really need help with this, or I need support with that. And not just our school staff, but families in our community. Go to your school and say, I'm really struggling to meet this need for my students. I can pretty much guarantee that someone in our school system is going to be able to help support you and get the things that you need for your child. And so I'm just proud of the community that we have here in Marion County and the work that we're continuing to do. And school grade data came out, I believe, during our lapse. I don't think we had a meeting, maybe right before, but I am proud of the work that we're doing. We're moving in the right direction. Dr. Gullett's leadership and the work that's being done on all of our campuses is showing that the supports we've put in place on our campuses is working, and we are moving the needle in the right direction, and we're going to continue to see great gains, and I'm proud of that. So that's all I got for today.
Thank you, Dr. James. And Board Member Campbell, you had one more thing?
I did, and this is for the board to note. I wanted to say thank you for naming me as the liaison to the student representatives, because we will have 2 new student representatives joining us on our board meeting on January 9th. We have Blake Barnes from Forest High School and Divya Nander from Vanguard High School, and I communicated with both of them over the holidays, and they're excited, and they were grateful to have information in advance of coming and knowing even how to dress and all the things. So that was really great. Thank you to the board for making that, and to Dr. James originally for making that recommendation. And they, I think, feel a lot more comfortable about what they'll be doing in the 3rd quarter. So thanks.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, we have a lot of big, great ideas and a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and then there's the implementation and the execution and all of the details that no one sees from our big ideas that it takes, to make it happen and be seamless and smooth. So I know I'll be excited as well to welcome our new student board representatives. And I hope that anyone that's been watching today or will be watching later takes away that we are all in, and just send your kids to school, please. Send them to school. There is so much, and if you don't send them to school, they're going to miss out, and so will you. So that's really all I have to wrap it up. I hope everyone had a wonderfully blessed holiday season. I hope you got some rest, and for those that had, as Dr. James mentioned, Board Member James, tragedies occur regardless of the season, and what defines a community and what defines each of us individually is how we respond to those events and how we reach in and put our arms around each other and do what we know is the right things. So if there's nothing else for the good of the cause, we will adjourn at 11:51 a.m. We made it before noon, which was my goal. Have a great day, everybody.
Good job, us.